Hello, viewer listener. Cover your disgusting body with our t-shirts because now we sell t-shirts. We have 3 brand new first-time t-shirts for Funbearable. If you are a fan of the podcast, I highly recommend getting any one of the 3, but I think you should start with the best. It's clearly the one that works the most, which is a wonderful design by Kenny Rubanis. It is the 3 of us in 2 mopeds and a sidecar. Yep. And I'll let you figure out which one of us is the sidecar.
And I think you actually might think the best one is our, let's just call this one the Funbearable skull shirt that's up right now. I think that one's going to be the most popular.
I think the most popular is going to be the classic, just Funbearable basic artwork.
Well, cast your vote with your dollar at funbearablepod.com. Grab those shirts, baby.
Elections are broken. This time, it can serve you. Get a shirt and cover, again, that disgusting body at funbearablepod.com. This is prime, like, pre-start goofery, right?
Yeah,
right,
so
good.
because
I was waiting for you with the phone.
I know. So you don't, because you didn't really have too much of a wrestling experience at all.
My wrestling
You
experience.
saw people with shirts. I'm sure.
I have been pinned by men. But unfortunately, there was no other man slapping the ground saying it would be over soon, right?
No,
So I
right.
wish I had somebody do an account when I was pinned by those men.
But yeah, during that Attitude Era, which was really big with DX and Stone Cold Steve Austin, I'm sure we all saw the shirts. We saw the Stone Cold shirts, I'm sure.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
In high
The
school?
316, Austin 316,
316,
and then
The
the
Rock.
X for Degeneration X. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
every dipshit in school would do the,
Well, hold on.
the X hit.
Dipshit and the cool guys.
Oh, we
do it.
found one. We found one.
You don't tell people to suck it?
You never told anybody? Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
if Kalina's like, Ray, do the dishes, you're never just like...
Well, how do you think Ray got pinned down in the first place anyway?
Yeah.
You know?
It's because I told some men to suck it. And then they were like, oh, really? And then they pinned me.
Do you promise, Ray?
Yeah. There was a guy with a sock on his hand, but for different reasons.
So yeah,
Wasn't his hand, now that I think about it?
so
He did break his back.
they did some stuff. I don't know. I can't even remember how it started, but there just was an HLA thing, which was hot lesbian action.
Yeah.
On Raw, primetime TV with wrestling, but they would just bring out women in like bras and panties and make them sort of like grind on each other, right?
Yeah.
They would
Okay.
kiss once in a while.
Yeah.
But
just
it's
like the regular wrestlers.
well, when I was 16 and 17, I think I didn't
Grinding?
question it because I was just
kissing
like
once in a while.
a horny teenager.
Yeah.
But now as a grown man,
Oh.
still horny.
Yeah, there you go.
I am like thinking like, why was that in that show though? Like,
Yeah.
how did that happen?
I also think if HLA and hot lesbian action on WW whatever Raw, if that was your first experience with those letters, when you saw the term HOA
Yep.
for a
that's hot.
a little like neighborhood
Yeah.
ruling class,
I thought it was
Yeah.
awesome.
I feel like that would throw you off.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I was-
oh, this house is a part of an HOA, and then there's like a 16-year-old kid like, what?
Yeah.
It
H what?
is?
Hot
room is
orgy
that?
action?
We
What
should
room?
maybe
All right,
maybe.
checks that ocelot. I was thinking ovine.
I went with onanistic.
Ooh,
Now I know that
okay.
we recently had some
Accurate.
Funbearable shirts. They're done. We got to do ones with us doing the DX chalk thing. You know
How do you do that in a shirt? It would just be a picture of the 3 of us playfully pointing
What about
at our
those,
penises.
those things, and you go like this, and you take the image, and you shake it, and you change it, and it changes in the light.
Oh, I thought you were
You know
doing
what I mean?
something
Oh,
Like
else.
a,
I know what you're saying.
like a
I know what you're saying.
lenticular.
Isn't this you doing
lenticular.
hiking?
Yeah. Honestly, I think it would be nice if he would have a Brad holding down Ray, and you're just standing above both of like
I'm
this, like this.
and then
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
They're just even if we
I'm
have
pinning
two.
Ray.
I don't know how many. I don't know how many frames we get, but if we only have 2, it's 1 up like this and 2 like that.
Okay.
And I'm jumping, and my legs are full split like Jean-Claude
Full
Van Damme.
split.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we
How do
can
we hide the
Photoshop?
wires?
Right.
You're up there doing that, and Brad has Ray pinned, but he's trying to reach for a hot dog, and just Ray just has the hot dog off to the side.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Now
good.
we're
Before you start it, because I
Yes.
can feel that you're
It's
about
ready.
to start it, I will say this. I realized something when you guys were describing wrestling, because as I established, my experience with it was different.
Yeah.
Limited.
I didn't watch wrestling,
He didn't
right? I
get
had
it.
friends
He
that
didn't
were
get it.
super into it. I grew up with no other men. So it was like, who's gonna? Yeah, my mom's gonna be like, you should watch fucking.
You got to see what Tito Santana and Rick Martel do this week.
Nitro's on. You know what
I
mean?
would like to comment on this
Start an hour
in
before
my
Raw.
like the way that I was exposed, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Well, I was just gonna say a goof on it is what I realized when you guys were describing it is that you could take any like group of men talking about like 90s wrestling, and it's also a group of men talking about a gay porn they watched.
Sure.
Yeah.
The
Couldn't
description's the
believe
same.
That's
the
good.
clowns came out. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this guy came out and he's like, he ripped his shirt open. And he's got him. And then he's hitting him and stuff. And then this other guy that was there the whole time, he reaches out, they tap, and then he comes in and he starts slamming his body into the ground.
Yeah, he smacked each other's chest for about 4 minutes straight,
Yeah.
going back and forth. I just feel like one
guy was perfect.
If Ray was like, he said, I didn't have any men around growing up, but if he did idolize wrestling as like a supplement, I just feel like if entrance music came in, he'd be like, Dad. Dad, I thought he was about to come into the door open. No,
That was a thing. Somebody forever ago, I came up with a wrestling character. Oh, that's right. When I lived in Maine, before I met you guys, one of my closest friends, Ryan Waning, was another comedian. He was super into wrestling, and he was like writing wrestling storylines.
Oh yeah,
for a
fantasy
while.
booking.
And then he actually was writing for like a league, like a lower level regional wrestling.
Oh yeah,
Group.
it's like a promotion or a federation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's doing that, and but we were talking about it, and he was like, I could get you on a match, right? And I was joking with him, and so my character was the stepfather.
Yes.
So I was the stepdad.
Oh,
because
yeah.
a stepdad character coming out with like a wife beater.
Oh yeah.
And my signature
great.
move was the rent collector, right? So you're gonna start paying rent in this house.
Yep.
And every how they grab the mic in the ring and they're pointing at whoever's standing over in the scaffolds or whatever
Yep.
before the thing, and Stone Cold's holding it. And he's like, "What you need to know," and he's doing that whole thing. And mine is always gonna start with, "I love you, mother."
I was gonna say.
I know you were a package deal.
Yeah.
I when I was young, my cousins and some of my friends watched wrestling, and it was like Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, those kind of people, and I didn't get it. I was like, this is dumb. We know that it's scripted, but we still think it's cool. And my entrance into wrestling was from comedy because Mick Foley became this character, Mankind. And he basically was like, yeah, I just decided to make Mankind like lovable and funny and like do funny things. And so they introduced a lot of comedy storylines involving him,
did.
where they had The Rock, who was like a tough guy coming up, and he's like the cool guy. And then they paired him up with Mick Foley, and they made them win the tag titles so that they would be stuck together. And Mick Foley was an idiot, and that was like the chemistry of theirs. And the biggest one, I'd say one of the top 5 highest viewed moments. It had an 8.1 at the time, which is 8.1 million people watched it. Was Mick Foley's 11-minute segment with The Rock, "This Is Your Life" on Raw, where he brought back all people from his childhood.
Just fictional characters.
And they said that the ratings for that were so high that it meant that people were calling each other to tell them it was on, and people were switching it on.
Yeah.
But that was me getting into it. It had to take that kind of thing of like, oh, they're kind of playing with these roles.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
little bit closer to like. Honestly, I think the only real comparison to like SNL is Raw. It's the only thing that's the same, where it's like, all right, we got 11 segments, this and this has to do this, we got to bring back this because people love it, this is our main guy, he's going to be in the, you know what I mean? It's like, it's very, very similar.
I think that's the part where once people realize that part,
Yeah.
then you can enjoy it.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like
so.
The wrestling matches themselves end up being kind of second to the performance piece that's going on before and
Especially-
even after.
And that's the same in gay porn.
Yes.
It is the same in gay porn, yeah.
But
and that's often called raw as well.
But especially
My
now,
analogy's working.
like I work with Joe List, and Joe was like, he's like, I never liked wrestling, I never got into it. He goes, all the documentaries about the behind the scenes of the business and all this stuff, he's like, they're incredible. He's like,
Yeah.
they're absolutely fascinating. And he's like, I watch those all the time. He's like, I never watch wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I think the behind the scenes is really like, It's the thing where reality and fiction is blended the most. There's not another place where that happens like that.
And truthfully, well, other than gay porn, and truthfully, like I think in a lot of similarities with gay porn, you could say that they brought us a lot of entertainment, but they destroyed their bodies. They destroyed their bodies doing this.
Yeah, the injuries and stuff.
Yeah,
that,
no
down the
oversight.
road. It's tough. It's tough for a lot of these guys.
It's really interesting because like people have made like light comparisons between gay porn and wrestling, but to really get deep, like you, I really think
Clinical.
I do think it's funny because it's like let's go through the names, baby.
Oh, yeah.
we got the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
we got big sexy Kevin Nash.
If I turned on a
The
gay,
gobbledygooker.
Gobbledygooker.
You
That's
don't
fine.
wanna see-
That's good. That's good.
if I went on Pornhub and clicked on the gay section or whatever it is, I feel like seeing like Mankind. I'd be like, yup. You know what I mean? Stone Cold, Steve Austin. Sure, okay.
I think
Yeah.
the Macho
You know.
Man, Randy
Oh,
Savage.
yeah. Absolutely.
baby.
There we go.
Savage
right?
me.
Yeah.
Right.
The Iron Sheik. What's
Yeah.
that about?
They had another
Undertaker,
guy.
no
His name
thank
was
you.
dead on. It was the Sexual Chocolate was his name.
Yeah, Mark Henry.
Mark Henry,
yeah.
Yeah.
Val Venus.
Val Venus was a porn star.
Val Venus
he was
absolutely
he was a
sounds
porn
like-
star.
His-
That's his character.
Also,
Yeah.
winner of RuPaul's Drag Race season 4.
Yes.
oh yeah,
Val Venus.
Also
Venus.
insane now. Poor guy.
Oh no!
Put his
It-
brain
you know,
through a
well,
lot.
the,
no,
the
he's just
industry chews you up.
he's just a right wing.
Oh, okay.
guy.
Also, and just throwing this one out, the Bushwhackers.
Yep.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
And they really got in your personal space
Oh,
too.
yeah.
They
I
really
Could have
got.
used that when Jordan had that. I mean, whoever had that friend over that my dog pulled her pants down. We told that story.
Yeah.
I
It
told
might
him-
be a call forward. I think it's
No,
a
it's
call
not.
back.
It's a call back.
Okay,
it's a
cool.
call back. I told a story about this crazy woman that ended up at my house, and my dog kept pulling her pants down, and she had this crazy bush, and she thought it was hilarious. Really upsetting.
Really?
Like, because you think that her reaction should be like, "Oh no, that dog's pulling my pants down in front of a stranger."
Yeah.
but no.
And you
No.
can't go, he smells my dog.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Funbearable. I am Brad Rohr.
I am Ray, the big boy Harrington. I'm doing a wrestling one.
I'm Chuck. Thank God it's the other dog that I'm smelling.
We're joined.
Was that dog swimming recently? Because it smells like
We
a
are
wet dog.
joined in studio
You get
today.
sprayed by a skunk, right? I have tomato juice.
We are joined.
Man,
in
that dog's pussy smells.
We are joined in the studio today by longtime friend of the pod,
What an intro.
Yeah, they kept interrupting my jokes about this
Smelly
woman's
dog vaginas and stuff.
No, listen. I'm having the best time watching this. The only reason why is because I feel like Brad feels he can never contribute until the fucking intro is done. Like he's about to burst. He's like,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's one of those videos I saw.
Every week we start being idiots, and Brad's like, "But we're doing the show, but the show didn't open yet. What do you? How can we?" And the sparks like fly out, and I throw a little water on it.
he is the poet laureate for the state of New York, excluding Staten Island. He is a 3-time Silver Star winner. Put your paws together for Derek Furtado.
thank you, thank you,
Derek!
thank you.
What's up, buddy? How you
This has
doing?
been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Also the name of a gay porn.
Hey,
I finally
boy.
got one.
These jokes are veering towards 1999.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
sure are.
Yeah.
Write them in the
Let's
back
do
of
more
a
ones about
Maxim
that gross
magazine.
bush.
Yeah.
Write all those in the back of a Maxim magazine. That's right.
yeah.
No, Derek Furtado, fellow comic. We met doing stand-up comedy, right?
Yeah.
And we used to have a podcast with Ray and Derek. And that a couple episodes have been bonus episodes we've brought back
On the
for
Funbearable
Funbearable.
feed, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Derek, this is not your first appearance on Funbearable. It's like your third.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because of
Proper.
the other. Yeah, now because of the other episodes you guys.
How
talked
come you're
about.
so much
Yeah.
older than you were?
Yeah, I know it's a little different, but I mean, you age when you started. When Ray and I started our podcast, when all we did is just evaluate gay porn. And so
Yeah,
whenever we
I
would watch
remember.
porn, we would break it down and
That's
talk
right.
about
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
how good they were, the writing.
Yes, that's why I was with Ray and Derek, because you didn't want to put gay porn in the title. You'll be like, they get it
Yeah.
with Ray and Derek. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I
Yeah.
get it, yeah.
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 No, but yeah, we've reposted a few episodes, and Derek was also on the Chuck and Brad podcast.
Yeah.
Derek's been on a ton of the live Chuck and Brad shows and stuff like that over the years. And then Derek moved to Brooklyn around the time I moved to Staten Island, like maybe a little bit earlier than me.
Yeah, I think probably only a few months before you moved over.
Yeah,
there.
so we both moved to New York around the same time. And Derek is the guy, when I said my friend called me, I thought he wanted me to have sex with his wife in front of him. That's Derek.
Yeah, he got really excited. I was like, why can't just a friend invite you to just hang out?
It just was weird the way you explained it. You were like, come on over. And I was like, oh my God.
How is that weird?
How is that?
Oh my God.
This guy is so aggressive.
I was like, okay. And I'm just like doing my little hair in the mirror and trimming. And
Come
I'm
on
sweating.
over. It's so open-ended, but you're like, oh, fucking.
Let me get the cuckold's horns for Derek.
I like the idea, like, yeah, come on over, we're cooking. And before you can even say it's like a cookout, you hear ding dong.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like,
I have a rose in my teeth.
I don't know if the buzz is working to get into the apartment, but I'm outside.
Yeah, I don't know why there was that misunderstanding, but I was like, this is going to be quite a night.
I know why there's that misunderstanding. It's your broken brain.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you have a Rosetta bone. It's a
really
Rosetta
do.
Stone.
I really do.
It's used to
Translate.
translate.
Yeah.
So it's, that
I
one
see
had
that.
layers.
Wow.
I got it.
That's for a different podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, we've been friends with Derek forever. We've hung out a million times. We've been on the shows. We've worked together.
I've been friends probably longer and better friends. So.
Yeah.
Maybe
True.
longer
and we
friends,
all
not
worked
better.
together on Undependent
Yeah.
as well, which we'll
Yeah,
talk
that's right,
about.
yeah.
Not
Sure,
me.
yes.
I was against it. I wouldn't grant them the permits to film.
Well, it's funny. I remember
I was the enemy.
I could just see Brad going, it's just not spelled correctly.
That's
I
not
can't get on board with
That's
that.
not
It's
a
just-
word.
Well, our producer Lee Leshin, who's a
Yes.
friend of the podcast as well, big fan. I remember when we talked about casting and doing that kind of stuff, we were already worried because we were shooting Undependent for True TV for a pilot.
Yeah.
Because we get to say that now because of the merger. That totally screwed us over. AT&T destroyed our careers. So anyway, I remember when we were doing it. This is a long way to go
Is
for
there
this
anyone in
joke.
this room that True TV hasn't kind of screwed over?
Right? Yeah. No. It's all of us. Go back to Court TV, you piece of shit.
They're going back to Court TV.
Good.
Joker's just got moved over to TBS.
Oh,
because True
okay.
TV is rebranding. I don't know exactly what they're rebranding as, but they're not going to have Jokers anymore, which is a little strange to
I've
me.
applied to be a
Considering
writer.
it was the Joker's channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've applied to be a writer for C-SPAN.
Yes, that's right.
It's
I like
really
that.
my speed, my
Yeah.
sense of humor, my
Yeah.
age demographic.
Yeah, your voice completely.
Yeah.
I get
Oh
it.
yeah.
But we were going to cast you in Undependent.
Yes.
And then we brought, the headshots of the people we wanted in the show to Lee as the producer. And we were concerned that we were already, two straight white dudes making a pilot in this era is a little tricky,
Yeah.
right?
Straight presenting white dudes.
Yeah, right, cis. As soon as Lee saw your headshot, he was like, it tips us so severely to white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more like
Yeah.
an opaque. It's almost opaque.
Yeah, and he
No,
I-
it's almost translucent.
He got
Yes.
mad, and I remember him
Opaque is
like
the
crumpling the headshot and like pointing it at us like an angry,
Yeah.
like an angry owner of a sports team.
You said it was like
And he
Voldemort with a wand.
Yes, and he's doing that, and he was like, "We're doing this for True TV, not CMT, right?
Whoa.
Country
Oh,
Music
yeah.
Television."
Oh, yeah.
He said that.
Yeah,
did.
Lee said that.
He did.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't want to sell this, don't you? You
Wow.
really don't want to sell
Jesus.
this, do you?
Yeah.
That was
Oh, it was,
antagonistic.
yeah.
Yeah.
He
What
was-
are you gonna do? Put it on the Dove streaming network?
Wow.
It's a Christian streaming
You know what he
network.
said to me?
Brad got it.
He said if Bragg is in this, maybe it'll be on BET. And I was like, huh? And he goes, on opposite day. And I said, oh.
What a terrible joke by Lee.
I know. This is
That was a rough one.
I said.
You could have said like boys entertainment television.
But this happened.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just
Brad
we're just
Entertainment
sometimes,
television.
sometimes life isn't funnier than fiction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It just is what
It
it
was
is.
tough. And then I remember him saying something about like.
And he said, boom.
Well, that's Lee.
Yeah, and he mimed a mic drop.
That's Lee's catchphrase.
That is his catchphrase.
Yeah. You're on the phone, but. But yeah.
But yeah, so we did Undependent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of
Undependent,
fun.
very, very fun project to watch.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll
Yeah,
say
it was a lot of fun.
It was funny too
Well done.
because I remember, you guys were already in the process of making it.
We
And
had
I think
finished shooting it before we met. That's the real reason why you weren't in it. is
I don't think
because we
so.
didn't-
I think we met and you gave me the script while there was a crazy hurricane in Rhode Island, and I had to go sleep at my ex-girlfriend's mom's house, and I read the script, and you were going to film it like the next day.
Oh, okay.
So it was like right then, and that's when we talked about me coming on to edit it.
Yeah, I spent
Yeah.
the night with Lee that night. And I was
Ooh.
like on a couch.
Was this a Weinstein situation?
Yeah, very much so. There was a plant next to the couch.
And Lee
thank
came
God.
out and he looked at you and he looked at the plant and he looked at you and he looked at the plant and he went, I'll go with the plant.
That's why I had to sleep on the couch. Yep.
The fern seems firmer.
Yes.
But
It's
not
my
only-
spine's fault.
well, it's the scoliosis.
Yeah.
Not only that, but we also did, because we're kind of coming up to this. By the way, viewer, listener, if you want to watch Undependent, you can absolutely do that.
Oh, yeah.
It's on undependenttheshow.com, I think is the URL.
Yeah,
But it's also on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
It's-
just search Undependent.
Yeah, it's independent with a U.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason we did Undependent was we were talking to True TV, and we wanted to do a fun scripted show like that had a lot of improv elements, because the gist of the show is two guys who had made a documentary that did well and had a little bit of opportunity,
Yeah.
and wanted to make the next thing, and they just are pursuing success. They just want to make it, right?
Yeah.
And so every episode is them trying to make another documentary.
Yeah.
And failing miserably, and the comedy is in that failure, right? And so
Yeah.
it's shot kind of fourth wall breaky, where the camera crew for the documentary is filming everything. So what they're filming is these guys trying to make a documentary.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the idea of it being a little more raw, and you can see them in the film itself. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this meta kind of thing where you could see the crew trying to work with us to make this thing.
Yeah.
Ray and I wanted to do something different, but not make like a drastic leap, and kind of more like a slight incline for making something different. So when we made Be a Man, I mean, that's pure documentary.
Right.
So we're like, well, we love that style.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, why can't we just make something that still involves ourselves? So it's like caricatures of ourselves.
Yeah.
And then just show the writing and acting aspect of things. And so for us, it just felt easier to kind of like do that piece, just at least show the acting and the writing.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like half a step. It was 1 foot in documentary and 1 foot out, because we were like, well, we know this is what got us here.
Yeah.
Is this documentary. And it does get into a weird place, because we're playing characters of ourselves, versions of ourselves. So you're Derek in the show, I'm Ray in the show, and we made a documentary called Be a Man
In real
the
life.
show.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
show,
Right,
but that's
but-
also real life.
Exactly,
Right.
Yeah.
exactly.
So it does get muddy, but I mean, write what you know, right?
I think
So-
the best way to think about it too, from the writing aspect, if it moved forward,
Mm-hmm.
is that the concept was essentially that they made Be a Man, which is a real documentary, and then they were like, well, if we had a TV show where we could experiment with different types of documentary, every episode can parody a different type of documentary.
Yeah.
So you could do a Survivor, like a Survivor Man or
we
Bear
had
Grylls
a
documentary.
yeah, we had a script for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, there could be a paranormal one, like all these different
Yeah,
ones.
we were working on that one too.
Yeah, no, I remember.
And even like a following, bands.
Yes.
And
yeah.
so,
yeah.
where you join the
Yeah.
band and things like
So,
yeah,
so
that
it was a
great.
little bit of also a vehicle to say, well, let's all these documentaries are bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and more ubiquitous and everywhere.
Yeah.
Let's make a show where we can parody documentaries week to week.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? That was
it's-
part of it.
and it's fun, and it's because it's breaking the fourth. It kind of lives in the fourth wall.
Yeah.
and it's breaking that, and you get to parody stuff, but you also get to, because these guys are just film buff people, right? Like
Yeah.
they're just so into film. It's how they communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And so each, like the pilot, the 2 episodes that we did for the pilot, one is hinging on E.T. and one is hinging on Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And they're so baked into the storyline. And it's funny because we were working on the show and developing what we were going to do with it. And initially it started as, let's do this as a web series and just do a fun thing
Yeah.
to get away from all the heavy lifting of doing a documentary that
Right.
was very real.
Yeah.
And then Lee came on board and wanted to produce. And then we started talking to True. And then True TV was like, we'd like to see that. We're not doing scripted, but we'd like to see what it is.
Yeah.
Because I think they wanted something more with like Be a Man. And we can get into that later. But it was really interesting. So then we started to break it as a regular like 22-minute episode of television.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. I was worried about the weirdness of it. It's hard to describe that element of like it's behind the fourth wall. It's kind of like the camera crew is shooting them, so they talk to camera, but they're really talking to the crew, right? It's sort of the elevator pitch of it was like it's The Office, but instead of following everybody in the office itself, we're following the crew shooting that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's not as confusing. The thing is, if people had to know about Be a Man, I think that does make it muddy.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But they don't.
No,
you
no,
could
no.
watch the show and be like, this is a fake thing they made before this.
Yeah.
But in real life, it's an actual thing.
And it's a
Yeah.
cool
It doesn't
thing where
matter.
if people really enjoy it, then the idea of digging deeper to find out, well, okay,
Yeah.
what is this Be a Man thing that you see? Because there's the poster
Yeah.
on the wall
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah,
we refer to it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, when people really enjoy something, they want to do, what are these other things?
Yeah,
they
yeah.
dig deeper into it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, oh, that would be great if we can get that. And then there'd be, traction there. And then the opportunity for Be a Man to get back out there again as well, because we originally were able to get it on Hulu. And so once that contract ended, it's like, well, now it's still open to be able to go places. And this would have been a great way to be able to put that together. But of course, unfortunately, things didn't work out the way we wanted to. But what we found in creating the 22-minute, or like basically half-hour episode, is that the way the segments broke down, we were able to create like a shorter style web series, because each break per episode actually worked just right to where somebody would go, oh, I want to, it's going to make you want to binge watch it, I guess you could say, by going through each one of those episodes.
Yeah. We ended up going backwards and breaking it into a web series again. During the pandemic, because it was like, well, we have this. The True TV thing didn't happen. We'd still like this to be out there in some way. And we had it in some festivals. It won a couple of festivals. That was really nice. And then
we went to Vermont. We were talking about that in the other
Oh, yeah.
episode, all three.
But it also won like 2 good festivals. But it was so we wanted to break it again, and thankfully we wrote it very, very close to like holding to that 3-act structure, right? So the 3 acts are there, and we're like, oh, we can just break it that way. But what I was going to say is I was so worried about that format, right? This kind of loose pseudo documentary, pseudo POV kind of thing going on in it. And then I saw Nirvana, the band, the show.
Which is like one of our favorite
after
shows.
we were already like doing this, right?
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay, you can do it like this.
Yeah.
You can have this weird, in the middle kind of thing.
You were so excited after you saw that. You were like, this is the thing I was looking for. This now makes sense that we are capable of being able to do this, because it's like it wasn't taking that idea. It was just it's like it cleared it up for us that it's like, okay, this thing is possible. Because I think when you start looking at showing that like fourth wall, where it's like, can we get that like meta thing in there? That's way more fun, but we don't want it to look almost as if it's like cheap. Right. Because that might because if you just go slightly one other direction, then it's not going. It just looks like it's not a quality thing, and you weren't paying attention to that. But we were very aware of what we were doing.
I was going to say one of the other things. It's funny because like on The Office, it's like it's very clear that there's a documentary crew shooting this, and that's the reason why. However, following The Office, I think that the whole world became looser with that stuff.
Yeah.
So I believe Parks and Rec was shot like The Office. They talk to camera, but it is literally never explained in the show why they're talking to the camera.
Modern Family.
Same thing?
The pilot was shot saying there was a documentary crew following a family, right? And they removed all of that in the pilot.
So do they ever explain it?
No, they never do. So it just exists with this and the looks to camera and the confessionals and all that stuff. It's all baked into the show with no explanation. It became part of TV language.
I was going to say,
just
it's like a stylistic lexicon.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
Where it's like, people are like, yep, some stuff is shot like this. Television's moving forward. Formats are moving forward. Some stuff is mockumentary.
But that style is something that I think people did grasp and understood after a while, which is why the success of like Abbott Elementary just is so great, because they're like, okay, we can take this style and put it in a different type of situation, and you can get that same value. And it is fun when you're there and you're watching this show, and there's a moment where they can break, and they're almost like talking to you and letting you know that you know, this is like kind of ridiculous what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And that becomes an extra joke. Why not? Anytime you can add that little extra thing, that's incredibly entertaining.
And I think it just came from a place of, we did the documentary, Be a Man, and that was so personal and honest, right? It was that was the whole thing. Like, keep it as personal and honest as we can. We made Be a Man, and you know, and it did well. And we had no business making it. We made it for what, $5,000? Yeah, we made it for $5,000. We shot everything for $5,000, and then we had to do a Kickstarter for like the final work on the stuff. Yeah, the post process. And it was all, everybody worked for like the love of making this thing, and it was amazing. And it was so connect. Like, the elevator pitch of it. My wife was pregnant. I was going to be a dad, and I didn't know. Like, I was kind of freaking out about that. I didn't have a dad growing up, and I was talking to Derek about all of this stuff because Derek is a father. He was a father already, and we were talking on the phone, and I was like, I don't know how to be a dad. I don't know what that looks like. I don't even know how to be a man. And then that was the click.
We both were like, wait, that's okay. That has legs. We're like, this is something that could work. But the funny thing was, it wasn't the fact that his wife was pregnant at the time. It was, he was talking about the next stage because they had just bought their house. And he goes, well, clearly the next thing is we're married, just bought a house. He goes, so the next step would be I'd have a kid.
Yeah.
Literally, it must have been only a week right after we were like, this is actually a good idea. It's like, how would we be able to put that together? When she announced that she was pregnant, it was like, this is the perfect time because that 9 months leading up to her having the baby would be the perfect time. And if it wasn't for that piece, I don't think it would have put it in like hyperdrive to really force it to make it happen.
Absolutely.
You know, because I think with a lot of comics, we talk a lot of shit, like, of all the things that we want to do. And we write it down. You have these little meetings. You know, like, this would be great. This would be great. Yep. But we don't ever really pull the trigger. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, big ups to your wife and your son for really.
And also my sperm. I think that's probably what it was. It was probably my sperm
There's no
going,
proof of that.
This guy's got to get this movie made.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get all the way to the goal.
Can I talk about one part of Be a Man? So there's you want to learn to fight. As a man, and so you're going to box.
Yes.
Was it Vinnie
Pazienza?
Yes. Vinnie Paz.
World
five-time
world champion. Yeah, sorry.
I knew his name before I saw the documentary.
Yeah.
And
there was a film about him. There was a.
He had broken his neck. He had a halo.
Bleed for this. It was very good.
So, you know, in the documentary, Ray is preparing to fight this trained boxer, and Derek is in the car riding with this trained boxer to the fight. Mm-hmm. And Derek is goading the boxer, like, hey, you won't believe what Ray said about you. And I'm like, I didn't know you at the time. I had met Ray once or twice, and I'm like, this is what Chuck would do to me.
It's 100% what I would.
Yeah, and I think I talked to Derek, and he's like, well, yeah, it's like.
Well,
it's a movie.
You're filming something.
Yeah.
You got to do the thing that's right
at the time, I was like, Derek is a villain.
Yeah.
He should be.
And you know, the funny, and even just before I even lead it to why I wanted to do that was when we did the screenings, that was a thing that kept coming up with some people. They were like almost saying, Ray, you should probably, question your friendship with Derek.
Yes.
You know, but once you saw how everything kind of came together.
It was a ride for people. And we had people say at the end of screenings and stuff, like, in the middle, in the fighting thing, I did not like Derek.
I was one of those people.
I didn't like Derek.
Yeah.
But
I'm still on the fence.
By the end, he's a good friend. You're holding the baby, all that stuff. And it was so, I really had to work hard in the edit to make you likable.
You were holding the baby, and you're like, hey, Vinnie Paz, this baby said he could knock you out.
Yeah.
Punch him in the fontanelle.
The idea that I was thinking, first of all, when you separate us in the cars, and it's like, okay, Ray's going to go in this one, and I'm going to drive Vinny, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, of course. What are you going to do?
What I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So, and I was just thinking, let's separate each other because right before we left, we did the interview part where I'm sitting and talking to Vinny, and I thought we were going to have an honest conversation about stuff, but he was already getting in
He was
the zone,
selling the fight.
Yeah, so he's already like going, "You're not supposed to be in that ring. I have bled, sweat, and fucking put everything into that ring.
Yep.
You don't belong there." And I'm
I'm
like,
in the
"Oh,
background
God."
and I'm like, goddamn right. You're not supposed to be.
It's-
Yeah.
So I didn't want to ride to the boxing ring with him,
Yeah.
because I knew he was in that zone.
Yeah.
What I did not know is that Derek was going to talk, like kind of amp him up.
Yeah.
And then we get to the boxing ring, and that's when he tells me, he's like, I kind of was maybe talking a little bit of shit and riling him up a little bit. And I was furious. And then I watched the footage and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? But it works for the whole thing.
of
because
course.
it has
What
to
are we
be
talking
there.
about?
Yeah.
The thing is when my father was a boxer when he was younger, and got me into watching a lot of boxing and stuff, and a lot of boxing is the promotion leading up,
Right.
And you see these
Yeah, for
guys
sure.
and we were just talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
There are fighters out there that they're like they want to make money. So when you promote, they hate each other, and there a lot of times there's a lot of respect after the fight itself.
For sure.
Vinny was one of those guys that was an incredible performer.
Right.
And so knowing that in his head, it's almost like it's connected to be a part of what that is.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
a reason why when he was, in his prime, right? There's a reason why, like, he was a guy that's on Leno.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's on a late night talk show as a boxer because he was that kind of showman.
He had
Yeah.
that character. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, let's just get this and add to it a little bit more. And so just like anything I can think of, it's like, yeah, he was definitely talking shit. And he's calling you a bitch, and he said you weren't going to be able to hit him because, Ray's so much bigger and taller than you that you're not even going to be able to. And Vinny's like, I'm going to fuck him up. And,
Yeah.
and so
I was so worried for Ray.
I was worried
And
for
you know
Ray
what?
too.
And
I
you
wanted
know
to see
what?
this guy dead.
But here's the deal.
didn't know about this time.
In my head, I'm still in like playful mode. So even when we went there, and I'm like, I kind of riled him up, but I'm still like, okay, now we're back at Ray, and I'm like, all right, you get the gloves on. It's like, all right, hit the the pads there.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like giggling because like this is gonna be really, really fun. It's
I
gonna be a
wasn't
great
giggling.
shoot. Then Vinny doesn't, but he stays in it, and it wasn't until after the fight that he lightened up.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
beforehand, he goes, I don't know why you guys are laughing. He goes, this isn't funny. This isn't funny anymore.
Yeah.
Dude, the air in that, it truly, all of us were like, oh shit.
Yeah, I went over to say something to him, and he went, "Don't talk to me." And I'm like, "But I'm the guy. I'm
So-
directing this fucking
Yeah.
thing that we're here for."
It's so funny because Brad had this experience of watching it and seeing Derek as the villain. I was watching it. I thought Ray was the villain the whole time, and Derek was like saving the day by like getting this guy to finally put him in his place. You know what I mean? Like that's what I got.
This
from
is a learning moment. This is a learning moment. Look
I
at
think
Derek.
that says more about you.
Yes.
You watch like a like I don't know, a vulnerable, like lovely kind of documentary. It's a journey film.
I was checking in and out.
You can see the friendship that is there, right?
Second screen experience.
And you're watching this, you're like, this fucking piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't have a dad growing up, and it was just my mom. And then you see my grandmother on there, and you're like, oh, fuck this guy.
Somebody
right?
needs to put him in his place.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's so fun. But he scared the shit out of me. And then all I was thinking about was I was in director brain where I was like, when we finish this, we have to leave here and do another thing, and then tomorrow we
Right,
have
of
the
course.
drinking segment
Yeah.
where I have to drink all these drinks, and I can't be fucked up, and I can't be in the next segment like with a black eye
Yeah.
or my nose is broken. Like that fucks up the whole shooting process.
Right.
And that's where I was. And then they're like, do you have a mouth guard? I was like, no, I don't have a mouth guard.
Yeah.
I didn't know I needed a mouth guard.
Yeah.
And Vinny's friend, who was like the ref for the thing,
Yeah.
he's like, I'll show you an old boxing trick. And he takes a paper towel, rolls it up, and then puts it in the water fountain to wet it, and then folds it over, and he goes, put that in your mouth, bite it, make a C out of it, and bite on that. And, just bite on that in the ring. And so I'm thinking about that.
Yeah,
I'm
of
thinking about the
course.
fact that, like,
You're going to lose a tooth.
with a fucking wet paper towel.
You see new comics getting ready to go on stage, and when they get up there, they hold onto the mic and they're shaking like crazy.
Yep.
Ray, don't see that when he's going on stage. Very comfortable, man. But when he got in that ring, it's funny because we're gonna film it, and it's like, Ray, we're gonna be doing this thing, but he's still in like, this is not supposed to be part of the film, but he's sitting there going, hey, maybe we shouldn't do it like this. But I just wanted to talk about this. I wanted you to show me a few things in the ring.
I shrunk. I was a little baby. That whole process, because I said in the beginning when I reached out to Vinny, because he was a fan.
Yeah.
He was a fan of my comedy. He's a fan of your comedy. He would come to the hardcore show that we would do late Friday nights here at the Comedy Connection.
Yeah.
He was just a fan, right?
Yeah.
And he was a nice guy. He was always kind to me. So I felt like if we're doing a fighting segment, we got to reach out to Vinny.
Right. Makes
a
sense.
five-time world champion.
Of course.
And he's got a great story. And I felt like
It's
his
interesting,
story
it's
of
fun.
breaking his neck in a car accident and coming back when doctors weren't even sure if he was going to walk again.
And he was training in a halo.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
lied
right.
to his
Literally
doctors.
lifting weights, doing bench with a halo on.
Yeah.
And
And
then
he came
comes
back
back-
and won more titles.
Yeah.
It's insane. So it's such a great story.
Yeah.
I don't know boxing for shit. And I said, hey, we can get in the ring and we can spar. I didn't know that meant like we fight. I thought it was going to be, what I pictured was like, you're going to be the old man in Rocky.
Oh, okay.
And you're going to put on those like punching gloves and you're going to hold your hands out and I'm going to punch those and he's going to be like, yeah, good job, Ray. I thought that's what it was going to be.
I know what sparring means, and
Yes.
Ray's a smart guy, so I'm like, he knows what the.
Yep.
But there was just that
Blind
one
spot.
little disconnect. He's like, oh, sparring's like a real fight, but like a practice real fight. But he was just sitting there, no, like the
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you're getting in the ring, and we are
Yeah.
fighting each other.
Yeah.
This is
And-
what's going to happen.
And the reason that Derek is here is because Harrington Pezienda 2
Yes.
is what, 2 weeks?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be a regional pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm ready. I think the key was to wait 10 more years.
Yes.
I think that's what it was. Because
Dar-
we're at
Dar-
the
you know
10-year
what?
anniversary.
Last night on the phone, you told me he's an elderly pussy now.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how you put it.
Yeah, he's like an old cat that should be put down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here
Absolutely.
we go again. Here we go again.
I respect you, Vinnie Paz.
I
It's all a goof.
think someone needs to put him in his place still. So
Ray
I
or Vinny?
really,
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. We're still trying. We're still trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he's still-
if anything, we should probably do one of those like funny things where like all of us get in the ring at the same time just to fight him.
Oh, that
we
would
all
be.
try to do.
Why don't we turn it into wrestling, right? So I'm in there with Vinny and I'm
Right.
shaking because that is what happened. I learned I had been in fights before, but like high school shit.
It's so
Yeah.
different. It's not the same.
It's so different when you spend 24 hours leading up to it and you do the talking and you have the stuff. We watched footage of his fights.
Yeah, he's a
we saw
professional
that one
fighter.
of his tactics was to always like lure the person in. He would open up and he would want the person to punch because he knew his counter
it's a
was going to
counterpunch.
be
Dude, his
harder.
overhand right was monstrous.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane. So he would open up and do that, and I'm in the ring with this guy. I am physically shaking at that
You're
point.
like, I know your tricks.
Because I'm also like, I had no like plan of what we were doing with this. I thought you were going to teach me how to do it. I'm wearing these gloves for the first time. I'm not even sure about punching in gloves. It feels weird.
It does feel weird.
I asked you to do this and you did it out of the kindness of your heart. I don't want to punch you.
I
You know what
know.
I mean?
I know.
Like, I don't want to hit you. He's not wearing
'Cause he's so
fucking-
kind.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
going to be a
'cause he's so-
dichotomy too of you being like, I don't want to hit you as a human to human thing.
Yeah.
However, I know that it's not going to hurt you and you're going to kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's this very
He started
strange-
waiting for me to swing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just shaking, and I'm like, I was just like, all right, just hurry up and do it. Hurry up and
Yeah.
get it over with.
Well, because the reality is like it's like it, and I know Ray was sitting there going, but if Ray was able to like connect with him, what if it's something that not that hurt, but like triggered, like just got him enough to where he's like,
Exactly.
oh motherfucker,
Oh, it's real.
and now
Yeah.
and now
I
he
didn't wanna
comes
really
back
piss
with an
him
even
off.
Oh, that's
bigger
true,
counter
too.
So
Because
that
I was also aware, here's a man who was a world champion boxer.
Yes.
He is older now. He, is past that period of time where he was, training for that every day and
Right.
doing all that stuff. But he's back in the ring, back in his element. This is a man that has taken punches to the head so many times. We don't talk about CTE in boxing, right?
Yes, we do.
Oh, I missed the meeting.
Okay.
And
It was last Friday.
oh shit.
You were double
doing
booked.
it's like doing like a Civil War reenactment, but some of the people were still alive from the Civil War, and they're like, well, just go up there because it's gonna be more authentic. And then they're up in the front, and they're like, I'm gonna put real bullets in this shit.
Yeah.
Like I'm really gonna
yeah,
shoot at
yeah.
these people. You have no idea. Like to
I
put
don't-
somebody back at that.
Yeah,
kind
I don't
of,
want to have him do that, and then he hears that Kill Bill
yeah.
tone,
Oh my gosh.
right, like that, and he's looking at me and just sees red. Like I don't want that to happen.
You've got your director's scarf on.
Yeah, that's like you know what I don't want to do.
Yeah, he has this beret.
I don't want. Great take. Let's go again. And I'm just like, but like, you wouldn't go play paintball with like an Afghanistan veteran with PTSD.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Hey, we'll have fun. And then he's out there. He's like hitting somebody in the face with the butt of the gun.
Yeah,
He's like,
Right,
these
right,
balls
right.
do nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody comes walking out, they have paint all over their mouth. He's like, he shoved the balls in my mouth. You tried to choke me. But yeah, it did feel like that. And he was super nice afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
I the only thing I'm proud of, the only thing in that entire segment I'm proud of, because I feel humiliated in that scene.
Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's pretty much any layman.
Yeah, but it's like, or Rayman. But it's
Legends.
it's a vulnerable place to be.
Yeah.
To be a 6'7" big guy and go, hi, I'm a big pussy. You know what I mean? Like that's it's a hard thing to do.
I guess it is. If Derek went in there and he's a little bit littler, you're like, hey, there's a big boxer. He's going to beat me up. That's pretty fucking scary.
Yeah.
But you go in there and you're like, oh, this guy that's a foot shorter than me.
Yeah, and everybody's standing there, and I'm shaking, and everybody's standing there, like, throw a punch, Ray, throw a punch.
Just
do something. And
we're, like-
I'm in there, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
It's so easy to like be on the outside and you're like, just move, do it. But it's like Ray's a much bigger guy, so like there's more surface level. And I'm sitting here thinking, I would just hop out of the. This is not. What the fuck are we talking? And then even
Against
the,
a professional boxer, Derek's like, I would be able to avoid his punches.
but you know what's funny even
He
about
does
this
float like a butterfly.
is that the wind
he's
just
hung
takes
like
me
a
away
bee.
and I just kind of flutter. I just think that with
Almost got him.
Did you miss it?
yeah, I just what did he say?
I'm sorry. The ducking and weaving, I'm like, you do float like a butterfly, but you're hung like a bee.
Hung like a bee is so good.
That's fine. It's a fun
one.
even
That's not about
so,
you, it's about
there's
the
still a
joke.
sting.
And then you die.
Yeah. And sometimes when you get that sting, depending on the person, you do swell up. So it's kind of it's a whole.
When big. Okay, you go ahead.
What I was going to say is that we're sitting here talking about the idea of like triggering him by like him hitting. I love the idea that a video would just be like the audacity that we think.
Yeah,
You're gonna hit me to trigger some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
the fuck
exactly.
outta here.
That's kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because we're like 5-year-olds running up to an adult.
Yeah.
A transformer.
Yeah.
Right. Just kicking him in the shin.
that, Megatron.
and trying to run.
Yeah, it's insane. It really is. But so the moment that I was actually proud of, right, is he pops me a couple of times in the body, and everybody's like, hit him, Ray, and he's opening up, and I'm like, I just watched so many videos of you doing that and then murdering a man. You know what I mean? And just destroying him.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, and I'm just going like this, just fucking hit me, man. And he pops me in the head, or the face or whatever. And I'm like, okay, all right, and then you're standing ringside, and you're like, now you know what it feels like.
Yeah, right.
Like a fucking dad at a fucking game, you know what I mean?
But even Vinny at that point, like even though he put on the show, you knew that in the ring right there, because Vinny was like, okay, it's fine. But then it was like you were like, even you were sitting there going, but that wasn't. It was just me seeing it and feeling it for the first time. I do need to keep going.
Subject me was like, that was fine. We're done. We're good. I got punched in the face head. That's fine. Director me was like, not enough. And I went, let's go. Let's keep going. Let's go again.
I know.
And everybody's like, oh, and even he was done. He was like, all right, now you know a little bit of what it's like to be in the ring. I'm like, no, let's do it again.
There was like this. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, it's going to be the next 3 punches, within the next 3 punches.
And then his buddy, who's the ref, pulled him aside, and we didn't get it on film, and it kills me that we didn't get it. But you guys told me, maybe John told me afterwards, pulled him aside, and he's like, all right, just, give him he has a name for that punch. It's that
It's the
overhand,
overhand right.
Yeah.
It's the over- yeah.
He's like, just give him one of those, like really just give it to him.
Yeah.
And I wish we had that on film.
Yeah.
But so we go back into it, a couple of little jabs, and then boom, right in the head.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know.
And then you turned and you spat, and all your teeth were still connected to the paper towel.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah, no, I immediately put my hand up and went to the rail or the ropes. I was like, I'm done. It fucking whew.
Slight little buckle, but he didn't
I
drop.
didn't go down.
Yeah.
I didn't go down.
That's
And the
the
fact
part.
it's not even I didn't go down. If he wanted to, he could have fucking laid me out.
Yes.
If he really wanted
Oh,
to.
yeah,
he
of course.
But what I was proud of is the fact that after the first pop, I was like, let's keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So and to this day,
Did you get a hit on him? Like, did you punch him in the face at all?
no. That's the other thing. I'm fucking polite, man. I asked this guy to come be on this fucking thing for us.
Vinnie Paz, the only thing that saved you was Ray's manners.
Yeah, my etiquette.
Because he was raised
My etiquette.
because he was raised by women.
Yeah, you fuck.
One time, this guy at Starbucks, Derek, he was really jawing, he was getting me, and Ray was like, "I'm going to kill him for you," and he almost killed him for me. Remember that?
Oh yeah. Not kill him for you. It was,
Fight
would
him.
you like me to get out of the car and go get the coffee? 'Cause
Yeah.
There was a moment where he came up and he said stuff to you in your window, and we still had to go get the coffee in the Starbucks. And you were like, I'm just gonna wait for this guy to go, right? Like that kind of thing.
He was pissed off at me because because he was flipping out about something about me parking right there.
Yeah.
I think, or maybe it was someone else. I don't remember.
Like somebody was going to back out. And you
Yeah,
pulled
I was
in.
parked. It's just a crazy parking lot, and he was like all pissed off, and I put my hand on his shoulder in a very condescending way and said, "It's okay, bud." And I got in my car, and he shoved the door shut, and he was like all pissed off at me.
Yeah.
All right,
And
because
then
I was
you-
just sitting there thinking like, Ray loves his iced coffee, so like if Vinny was a barista, then he might have really swung at him. Like if he fucked up his coffee, Ray's like, I think I'm gonna really hit this
That's
guy.
how he is.
You know,
How is it that the resident I treat service workers poorly guy?
I don't. I treat service workers with respect, love, and care. But TLC. But
okay, buddy.
Yeah.
I do.
It's okay.
That guy was not. He didn't work there. He was just a layman.
He was just
Ray in
a
the boxing ring.
He
classic.
just-
classic Staten Islander.
Layman came up on his word a day calendar.
So no,
Oh, wait, I was like, I'll get out. I don't care.
No, I'm very. It's funny because there's 3 stories in Funbearable history where I have an interaction that people think is a little much, but I deal with surface workers day to day. They love me. They're
Surface
like-
workers.
Sorry, surface dwellers.
Yeah.
And I have a great relationship
Sorry,
with those.
bugs.
Bugs.
No, what is it? What do you call people that you don't like?
Stinkers.
Stinkers.
Yeah.
Stinkers.
There was a Reddit thread on I work for the podcast Tell 'em Steve Dave, and they have a big Reddit, and someone put just as like a post like, "Hey, like, what do we think about Chuck?" Because I'm involved with them too. And
There's other
there's
Reddit subreddits that have the same exact.
There's
post.
a million comments about me and Ray, Brad, Funbearable. There's stuff going after Ray, not really Brad, but one of the things
of
about
course.
me is like the guy
I'm
was
scared to take a
referencing
stand.
these stories about me having these. I had an argument with a woman at a post office, and I threatened to kill myself. So people think that's weird. And then,
So people think that's weird.
and then this Staples guy, he accused me of spitting on him. Not true. And then
You're reenacting that time that you had to talk to a court-appointed therapist right
and
now.
then there was this Wendy's, and I flipped out on this woman at Wendy's, and so I had to hide my identity whenever I went there. Remember that?
Yes.
And I would like put the visor down and block my name, be like, "Oh, I'm Truck State." Or no, I don't say my name. But
I'm Derek
those
Furtado.
3 moments are years apart. They're individual, isolated incidents, and normally
When
I don't
does
have-
coincidence become a pattern?
I mean,
I just think that the person who's listening is sitting there going, there's another one. And just
Yeah.
waiting. It's like, you know how it's like,
exactly.
oh, yeah, how much I do not like Chuck. Let me just add
it was actually
these
funny
things.
because I believe the person commenting is like, I haven't really listened to Funbearable, but then they cited all 3 of those things.
Yeah.
When I thought that was very strange, but
That is funny.
Yeah, but I think that's those are little fun stories. We're having our goofs. That's not me.
Sure, I get it. But what I was saying before about being polite,
Yeah.
there was
I agree.
seriously this big part of me that
Yeah.
was like, I asked you to do this and do the thing. We're not paying you to be on this thing.
Yeah.
Out of the kindness of your heart, you're sitting down, having an interview, and then coming to this boxing ring and getting in there and punching a guy. Like, you're a 5-time world champion.
punching a layman.
And I'm just a lay man.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, the idea of going, and now I'm going to full force punch you. It just feels
I could
so
never do it.
alien.
I could also never cross that line. I think even in a real fight, it's hard for me, no matter what, in terms of like words, it's hard for me to see myself throwing the first punch.
Right.
Being the first one to go from a verbal confrontation to a physical confrontation. I can't see myself being the first one.
Sometimes
Yeah.
we all throw staplers, and maybe they
Brad
hit
does.
somebody.
Brad has an anger issue.
I do.
Really?
I do.
He
Yeah.
threw a staple. He threw a lot of staplers, and his secretary. Well, we don't want to talk about the podcast.
Thank you.
I can't.
Oh, God.
Ooh,
What just
this is like a serious.
That's not true. My secretary.
Something happened.
Nothing happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now I'm sitting here going, I've never thought I would say I'm probably the most afraid of Brad out of this entire group
Oh,
here.
he does have rage problems.
I do
and
have
he
rage
does,
problems.
He does throw staplers for real.
Yes.
But his secretary just she did one of yours, like a Dr.
didn't-
Lee.
yeah.
Just move right
I,
away.
I haven't
Yeah.
thrown staplers in years.
I don't like the tone that you had when you said that.
Yeah.
Like, the tone of your voice when you said that was very much like, I don't have anyone buried in these walls.
Yeah. Oh,
You know?
yeah.
I do
don't.
feel that the Brad's
Not
accuracy was
these
probably
ones.
like way off. He's like, you right in front of him and just goes right off to the side, just flies right off.
I mean,
He's
I
like,
don't-
that could have been your face.
We don't have to get into it, but I always wondered, would you be like, I'm mad, I grab a stapler and I toss it? Or would you
Yeah.
be like, I'm mad, I grab a stapler and I look around.
Yeah, do you
and
wind up?
You know, you hit a thing.
I don't look around. Like I've thrown it. Like, I had a couch across from me in my office, and I would throw it at that.
You did aim.
Well, yeah, in the sense of like
I want to throw
I'm
it at the couch
facing
and not
this
the wall.
direction. I'm hitting something that way. The couch is the thing that way.
Like that
Yeah.
or like this.
My question is, what are the things that trigger you to get to
it
that
was,
point?
It was usually just a bunch of work things lining up. There was
Or seasoning.
Yes.
Seasoning can get them there.
If I order a sandwich with no onions, Derek, and there were onions on that sandwich,
Yeah.
no, I had a
he
day
has a
that
stapler inside his car to throw at
Yes.
people at drive-throughs and
oh,
stuff.
they shut the
He got
window.
a collection, a box of them in there. He's like, you don't even know about me.
It was like sometime in November. I was supposed to be at a like a departmental training that I didn't want to go to, and then meanwhile, the office is supposed to be printing letters for students to be eligible to vote in like whatever 2018, I think it was, and we had set up instructions on how to do it, and they called me on my personal cell phone and was like, oh, we can't get the letters to print. And I'm like, first of all, you shouldn't have this number. And then I had to go back from the training, and
That
I'm
was
getting
your
in trouble
burner,
for
right?
that. Like, it's weird. Like, the weather is weirdly hot that day. And I came back, and it was just technology wasn't working. And I went in my office and I swept my inbox and outbox off my desk. They shatter. They're all over. And I'm like, that's embarrassing because it solves nothing.
So
Oh,
this
of
was
course,
like
of
your,
course.
what's that movie? Is it Falling Up? Is that your
Falling Down.
Falling down? That's your moment where you
Yeah, a
just
little bit.
lost it and
Honestly,
you're walking around with a briefcase full of staplers. Just
I think in the future, like falling down is really it's me 5 or 10 years from now. I think, and it's because it's fast food.
it's coming. It's
Traffic,
coming.
fast food.
We talked about.
I don't remember what
we
else
talked
was in the
about
movie.
Be a Man and
Yeah.
the idea of the movie, right? Talking about masculinity.
Yes.
And we are vulnerable boys.
Yep.
Fun
You're a
boys.
vulnerable
Soft
boy
boys.
as well. And I wanna say, like, the idea of impotent rage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is something that I think we can all tap into. We've talked about this on With Ray and Derek back in the day, where you just get to a level where enough stuff has gone wrong.
Little stuff.
Yeah, little stuff that piles up, and there's that one, inciting incident that just tips you over as a guy, I guess. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
masculine thing, I don't know. But you just get to a point where it has to be expressed physically in some way. And we talked about it. I remember this conversation with Ray and Derek, and we had to put the caveat of like, I have never, hit someone in that
Yeah.
rage.
Yep.
You've never done that. I remember having to be like, I don't do anything physical to my wife or anything like that. You know what I mean?
No.
But it gets to a point, and I know.
I did one physical thing to her. Hey-oh.
I don't think
Watch your fucking mouth.
I will say
I like the idea of like that's the
that
what
was
the fuck.
earlier when I was pretending I was mad on my phone. That's what I was doing. But
Yeah.
so I've never really had that physical reaction to that
No.
kind of stuff. No, but you know what I do get? I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And I go like this. Like if someone's like bothering me, I'm like, listen, I don't want to talk to anybody right now.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to be around anybody. I don't want
Yeah,
the responsibility of
Guys,
interacting
Chuck,
with
stop
anybody.
talking.
But
Relax.
But I don't
Leave him alone.
But I don't do like I don't have the physical thing. I never had it.
Chuck's like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm like, we're 1 hour into a 7-hour road trip.
I do.
This is great.
I totally get that. I know, like, if I'm mad about a situation happening,
Yeah.
where it's something we talked recently on the phone about, like, one of my shortest fuses I have is when some kind of technology thing, like a computer thing or a camera thing or whatever, when I know I'm doing everything correctly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've done it this way a million times, but there's for some reason it's just not working.
Yep.
And you've done all of the troubleshooting, but it's just that way now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's when I get so angry, and it is a thing where it's kind of a dumb hacky thing, but like as a married man, I'll be in that state.
Yeah.
And my wife will
Try to
talk
help.
to me about stuff. Yeah. Or like throw out things or be like, look at you, you're getting so angry about this one thing. And I'm like, just don't, like, please.
Don't
You know what I mean?
announce
Yeah.
that
So
I'm
I-
feeling that you clearly this is what's going on.
I had
Yeah,
this
yeah.
with Ray recently, and when Ray had this like really difficult travel like 3-week thing, and the final thing was that he was coming back from Washington D.C. for a very short flight to Rhode
Oh,
Island.
yeah. I was just telling you about that.
Yeah, and he got canceled, and he texted me and Brad.
Yeah, Ray got canceled.
And
I
so
did. I got
Brad and
canceled.
I started looking up flights at that airport and the closest airports to try to help. And I sent you one message that was like, I'm looking up flights right now. There might be one at this time. And then I thought about it and I said back to you, I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of messages and you're trying to figure this out and you're talking to people. I don't know if this is helpful, so I'm going to stop sending you stuff right now. Let me know if you do need help.
Because I said
I was
to-
like, a million texts hitting his phone and coming in at the top
While you're
as
trying-
he's looking
yeah.
at things. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's going to make things worse for him.
But that just goes from an experience you probably have had before in the past yourself too. So you're like,
me
I know
too.
that would be infuriating when
it
you're already
happens
in
to
the
me
middle of
a small thing.
He has
I was
told me
like-
about it when it's happened because you and I will be texting him in the group text and he's watching porn and he's like, you keep doing this and it keeps popping up and
Just
he's getting so
give me
mad.
40 seconds.
Yeah, and he looks around. He's like, "What's one thing I could hit?"
Well, with Natalie, my girlfriend Natalie, one time recently, she goes,
this.
She goes, sometimes I call you in the middle of the day and your phone goes right to voicemail. Like, how come? And I go, because whenever I do anything kind of tedious and complicated on my phone, I put it in do not disturb. Because I don't want anything. Because that
Yeah. makes
makes me annoyed. That
Sure,
annoys
sure,
the fuck
yeah.
out of me. And I just know it. And so I'm like, I have to eliminate this for a few minutes.
And I had texted you guys in that moment. I said, "I really appreciate what you're doing. It's very kind, but I need to deal with this right now."
Yeah.
Because it was
Yes.
that where I'm like, I'm furious,
Yeah.
being bombarded.
and it's
is
just
not gonna
what's
help.
happening, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, what would make Ray smile and laugh at a time like this? Just my collection of memes about the 2016 election. And I was just sending those to Ray over and over and over.
That'll get it going. That'll get it
By the way,
going.
I had it this past weekend. I was on a podcast called Two Men No Hope. Wicked nice guys, and they are from England. And they're like, "Oh, here's the time difference, so we'll do it at this time." And,
Yeah.
I go, "Okay, 1 p.m. Eastern for me then, if it's 6 hours behind." They're like, "Yep." So I go on my computer, I get it all set up, and for some reason, and I feel like this is universal, Zoom, Riverside, all the little things that you can record like remote podcasts on. There's still an issue with getting the microphone and headphones to always read the same way when you
Yes.
plug them in.
Yes.
I have no idea how it's still an issue in 2024, but I got everything set up. I have my ring light. I have my laptop on a stand, propped up, microphone. Everything's all set. And I'm like, all right, where are you guys? It's like it's like 1:02. And they're like, oh, it's not for an hour. So they had the time difference wrong. So I'm sitting there with all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And I went and I did some other stuff. They finally came on. I'm like, oh, you know what? Let me plug in this thing. I unplugged the little microphone and headphone jack thing, plugged it back in. Never could get it again. And we were tried for like 40 minutes. And I was like, this is making me livid.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
making me, and it was the exact thing of that. And it was the time difference thing. plus this was all set up and nothing is different.
But you
Not
say
one
you
thing.
say that you deal with the anger by like just shutting down and not talking. So if you got it to work and then they start the podcast,
I did.
and you're just like,
I had to
but
flip
you're
this-
not talking at all.
But
You're like,
we've
this is a
done that.
podcast.
We've done situations where we've gotten into a fight and then we're like, we got a podcast, and you can turn it off, but I feel like you have to develop that skill.
Yeah.
I think
I've gotten really good at it.
I think
How?
we started the podcast.
Practice.
We started the podcast in 2009, so that's like 15 years ago. So I was probably 24.
Yeah.
and I bet back then I probably was not as good at it.
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
over the years, I think that so many times we've all been in performance situations where you're like, a shitty thing just happened. Whether it's I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm annoyed, this person, whatever. I have to do this thing and I have to put it aside.
Yeah.
And I think we've done that enough, in different situations that I can do that now.
And again, that is also applicable with gay porn. Because it is a thing, if you're a performer, you have to do a thing,
Yeah.
and you might be really pissed off about a situation that happened, right?
Yeah.
And you just got to go.
you just gotta
gotta
do it.
go
You're
harder.
like, I got to
Yeah.
set this stuff off to the side
Yeah.
and go make love to this man.
yes.
And that's what you have to. And I noticed that you said that you've gotten better at it, and you have gotten better at it because, doing this podcast, you can clearly see from when you guys started this to where you are now
Yeah,
that
yeah.
your tolerance levels definitely have risen, because we didn't deal with that on ours. It was very easy for you and I
Yeah, very
to get along.
very easygoing. I don't think we ever
we
had a
didn't-
fight about the podcast.
No, I
never.
don't think so. Not
No.
once. Not
No.
one time.
I can only point to two
Season.
fights that we've had. One was shooting Be a Man.
Yep.
3 fights. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
One was shooting Be a Man.
And you're discounting the fight of Derek beefing up the actual physical fight, right?
Yes.
During Be a Man.
That wasn't even a fight because I didn't know what happened. I didn't know what happened
yeah,
until
yeah.
afterwards, But yeah, so one was during Be a Man. It was before the fight stuff, and we were starting the whole shoot, and we just didn't. It's that first day, and we thought, we're comedians. We need to be funny, and we started being very performative, and we both got to a place where we were half brainwashed or something, where it was like an interrogation where you're like, I don't know what's real anymore.
Are you acting?
Yeah, it was a lot of that. Wait,
yeah.
are you really saying that, or are you saying it for the camera?
yeah,
and
yeah.
that got weird.
We were so afraid of that kind of thing happening.
Yeah.
But then, Undependent, the crunch time to do everything in 4 days,
yeah,
and
shooting 2
yeah.
full-length
Yeah.
television episodes in 4 days.
Yeah.
we had to walk away from each other.
Yeah.
There was
yes.
there was one time where we had to do that, and
I
then
think
it
that
was
that's
fine.
I think that that's totally fine and normal.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
but you know what that comes with? That's work, right? Both of those situations are like the work we're doing, and I think anytime
Yes.
creatives are together and they're doing a thing, and the clock is ticking, and it's
Yep.
important, and we all care so much.
That's
that
the
intensity,
care.
right?
I think the care,
The
yeah.
one time we had a tiff,
I think I know exactly what
a
this is.
spat, was like in real life. What?
Is this one in California?
Yeah, we went out to LA for Be a Man to be screened at the LA Comedy Festival, right? And we won Best Documentary. Hey, great. We got there, we're doing the thing, and it's just a situation where, we've traveled so much together through this whole thing. We've done all this stuff, and we're sharing a hotel, we're sharing a rental car, we're doing the whole thing. And it was the morning, and we had to drive through LA traffic to go get coffee. That's why he said coffee's so important to me, because of the
Yeah.
tiff we had. I genuinely don't remember what triggered that argument. Do you?
I
Because the
don't
way
know
you're looking
what
at me is like a woman
I
who's
don't
ready
know
for a divorce.
I don't know the specific thing that triggered it, because you guys know when stuff piles up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's little subtle things to where
It was probably stupid shit, like you farted right before I was going to fall asleep the night before, and
Yeah.
that's where it started.
what it really, for me, it's one of those things where it's like half of your day is gone. It's noon. It's
Yeah.
1:00. Ray has not. It's morning to him, and he needs to get the coffee. We can't have a fucking regular conversation until that happens. So that little moment of it just being just simple conversation, I got so pissed off. I think I just hopped out of the car and fucking slammed and just started walking into the
we
parking
were in the
lot.
parking lot where this Starbucks was, right? And it wasn't noon; it was earlier than that. And plus, my schedule
11:53.
my schedule has changed. I'm a father. I have to get up a little bit earlier. Anyway, We're night owls anyway, you and I. He goes to bed at 7, right? As soon as he hears the Wheel of Fortune music, he's like,
I stay up because I want to see what Pat's going to tell me to think.
and once he's gone, you're like, I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah. Replace him with Ben Shapiro or I walk.
So we were just having our tiff or whatever it was, but it just got to a point, and I remember you got out of the rental car, you said something, and then you slammed the door.
Like harder than I wanted to have like a nice dramatic effect, but I slammed it to where I'm like, oh, I hope this is a rental car. Like I hope.
He slammed it, and he storms off, and I was in the car, and I was so mad when you slammed the door. But something clicked, and I think you had the same experience. As you were walking away, you were probably having the same thought. I'm in the car, and I'm like, you son... And I'm like, wait a minute. We are not a couple. This is a couple fight.
Yep.
This is like the car now is driving alongside of Derek walking away, and I roll the window.
Come on, baby.
Get back in the car. Just get back in the... Come on. Get back in the car.
Not until you say you're sorry.
I'll say I'm sorry. We'll talk, but let's just get in the car. Just get in the car.
Listen,
come on. I'm driving. There's cars behind me. Just get in the car.
No, not until you drink that coffee and say I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. Well, that's okay. But what are you going to do? You're going to walk all the way over to
It's a Trente.
Ralph's?
It's going to take a long time to drink.
Yeah. Well,
just get in the car. Get in the car. You're putting on a show.
Do you promise to rub my feet later?
No, I'm not going to talk about anything. This is the feet again. This is the feet again. This is where it all started. But that was so funny because as soon as I thought that, like, you were coming back, and then like we met back up and we're like, this was ridiculous, right? Like we were both.
I almost felt like when I walked away, like, where am I going?
Yeah.
I'm walking into it like an empty parking lot. I felt like it was like one of those kids that got mad at their parents, like, I'm running away. And I packed everything and I started walking down the street and I go, I don't recognize anything. And I'm like, I'm getting a little hungry.
It was so strange. When you walked away, I could hear the click of high heels. As you were walking away, I could hear it. And your hips were moving a little differently. It was very interesting. And then, but no, it's so silly when those things happen. You know what I mean?
It's really tough. It's funny too, because I think it happens with people who care about a thing that they're working on together. And it's so weird because I think it is universal that later on it's almost like, how did it become like that?
Yeah.
How did it get from this is what happened to this is where we were?
Yeah.
And I think it's a universal issue. I mean, I think it gets worse actually for a lot of people that are like high level, like really high level.
Sure, yeah.
Like, you hear about like directors and actors and stuff like that. But like, it is weird where it's like, how do you prevent it? How do you stop things from getting that shitty? And it's a really
I think
tough
you just
thing.
go through it because it's one of those things where if you spend so much time with each other when you're doing a project, but you don't have the conversation that you would if you're like living with somebody. So you talk about those details of like, hey, these are the things that I like, these are the things I don't like, this is my space. But those details that you're so in the project, but when you're around each other so much, there's little things that become the pet peeves that you didn't even know you had about the other person. And those, you don't have the conversation, it builds up, and then you bump heads, and then it's like, all right.
This is the thing that I've always thought about because I'm such a conflict, like avoidant person with small things that it's like, if a small thing happens...
Yeah, ask the surface workers about that one.
To be fair, I can't think of a better way to avoid something than killing yourself.
But it's like, no, I'm talking about like when you have a personal relationship with someone, like let's say you like, it could be your girlfriend, your wife, someone you live with, and they do something really annoying, and you're like, I'm not going to bring this up.
Sure.
Which is the wrong thing to do.
Right.
But if you're like, I am going to bring this up, it seems petty. But then 1,000 petty things happen, and you're like, this and this and this and this and this and this and this, and it does feel like the only thing to do is explode.
Right, because you're at a point where it's like, it looks to the exterior, it looks like this one little thing made you explode, but it's like, no, it's not this little thing.
I was quiet about this.
Yeah, I was quiet about this and this and this.
Yeah.
We are about due for my biannual blow up at Chuck.
Ooh.
Any day now. Any
That's
day.
fun. If you can let us know ahead of time, we can get Derek back.
I don't think
I'll poke the
can't
fuck
remember.
out of that bear. I will totally poke the fuck out of it.
The super volcano under Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah.
I feel the last blow up was like 8 years ago.
It was I think it was 2019.
Which one was that?
I think I said something insensitive like the night before Halloween, and you were Like
All Hallows Eve?
Yeah, maybe you know what? Maybe I said it the day of Halloween, and I'm like, as soon as I said it, I'm like, that was the wrong thing to say. And you walked out. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I texted you. I'm so sorry. I was at your house. I walked home, and then I was like, I've ruined Chuck's Halloween.
I don't remember
I
this.
felt so bad.
I don't remember this.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's funny.
Like
It's
it
funny
was
'cause I'm
18.
like,
he insulted
Chuck's
his
like,
I'm like,
well,
when did
blacked
Brad?
out.
pumpkin carvings.
I'm
Chuck's
trying
like,
to
I blacked
remember.
out. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
And
It's
for
such a
some reason-
traumatic.
My brain jumped to the time that I had like a large coffee, like a Dunkin' Donuts large coffee, and my middle
Console?
divider. Yeah, it was just standing there, and Brad was like, "Whoops!" and it went upside down on my seat and completely exploded.
Oh, no.
But I'm like, neither of us got mad at that.
No, we cleaned it up and,
Yeah.
and
We
like
cleaned it up
like
pretty
looked
good.
up like how to clean
That's
it
just
up.
an accident.
Yeah.
It's just an accident. But I'm
I do. It
trying-
is
like
interesting.
the
Go ahead.
stuff I get
Sorry,
mad
we're all
about.
like,
Yeah, no, I think about like there was a night we had gone to a pizza restaurant and my car window, like the rear window of my car, for some reason
Oh, yeah.
just went down and it poured rain in there and I was furious.
This happened multiple times where he left his car and the window went.
And I don't know how it happened. And so then we like went back to his parents' house, and so like the trunk wouldn't shut. And I just turned it. I threw my keys into the street because like I just had to physically like.
Yeah, you didn't have a stapler handy, so
Yeah,
you just
so
went with the only
throw
metal
the
thing you
fucking
had.
keys.
I was so mad. And then
Yeah.
again, like throwing my keys just made the
It only hurts
situation
you. Yeah.
worse.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
there's a stupid thing, and I think we talked about it in that anger conversation on with Ray and Derek forever ago. There is that dumb thing that I had in my head where it's like like the caveman brain kicks in that point. I'm like, I want to go outside and I want to punch a big tree.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
I
going to hurt
understand
the
it.
tree.
I know.
I'm only going to hurt myself, and then I'm going to have like scraped up knuckles. And for some reason, it's like, yeah, I'm going to get those scraped up knuckles. So that way, for 4 days, I can look at it and go, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're so
You know?
stupid.
Yeah.
Why did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's often situations I don't have control over. Traffic I struggle
Right,
with.
right.
Like we talked about the technology where you're like, oh, I don't have control over this technology
Yeah.
because everything I've done is the right thing to do.
Exactly.
If I'm going to be late and disappoint other people, I feel
Oh, I hate.
I think
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
awful.
the root of a lot of stuff is not being able to control certain things
Yeah.
and then disappointment. I think those are big parts. But I feel like the disappointment is also a part of the not having control.
For sure.
Like something that led to not having control over something is now the collateral damage to that is I'm going to let somebody down. So now you're even more
Exactly.
pissed off
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I just feel even when you guys are talking, like you're able to bring up examples. Ray and you and I are able to bring up examples. You are like blacking out on stuff. I feel like you're going to talk to a shrink and you're going to have a flood of things. That, you know what? I really don't like Brad.
Well, I was
Like,
just
I'm
gonna
really
say-
mad.
I was
There's
actually
a lot
gonna
of
say,
built up stuff.
Do we all have things that we said that were like little shitty comments to someone a long time ago that we feel guilty about, but they almost for sure don't remember?
yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I
yeah.
bet we all have.
I was 6 years old and I called another kid a nerd, and then he wasn't an academic achiever. Is it because I called him a nerd? He was ashamed. Is it? If I had like been supportive, would he be like
Right.
working for NASA right now? Would we have life on Mars?
I think your biggest regret should be, if we look at the timeline correctly,
Name was Alan.
you said that inappropriate thing over the line to Chuck. Chuck has no memory of it and blacked out.
Yep.
But I think it's interesting that that's the night the fire happened in his house. That was the rage. You burned down your house like a Barton Fink situation.
Well, it's funny.
it was a fire starter situation.
Yeah.
No control.
So I started dating my girlfriend Natalie in like late January, early February.
Take a
And-
drink, listener.
And we talked about the idea of like being what?
So sorry, that was such a funny joke.
Because they bring up Natalie?
It was just funny. It was a
I
funny
guess so.
thing. It was a funny, silly.
So-
Are you mad?
No, I'm not mad. I think it's
all
just
right.
funny.
You sure?
he's gonna black out.
No, it's like, do I bring Natalie up more than you bring up Kalina?
No,
Comedy
it's,
connection burns down.
I know, we did a different
no.
thing.
I think it's the phrasing sounds the same each time you say it.
Well, this is a podcast thing.
I know. It's, I know.
talked
So it
about
was a
this.
fun. I
It's like
like
if
the
you
idea
say-
of take a drink when he does that.
I
It's so
hate
silly.
because Brad and I have had to like talk to classes about podcasting, and I'm like, one thing that I think is lazy podcasting is saying something like, "Yeah, so me and Natalie went to Lupo's the other day to see the Copacetic," because like you're just like Who? Where? What?
Oh,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got to assume that this is their first.
Right.
So you gotta
episode,
go. You gotta go. So me and my girlfriend Natalie went to this venue in Providence. I like to go to Lupo's, and we saw this ska band that I love. They're from the area. They're called the Copacetics, and
Yeah.
the person listening is not lost. So I do my
right.
girlfriend Natalie a lot.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. It's totally fine.
but
It was just a goof.
Well, we talked about it early on.
is gonna come back to
and
haunt us.
she goes. She's like. We were good, we were deciding whether or not to pursue this long distance thing because it's obviously a little bit more, there's more effort, energy, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's talk about like getting mad. I'm like, so what do you do when you get mad? Because I want to, And she's like, honestly, she's like, I have a problem. I shut down. I don't talk about it. And I'm like, okay, we'll keep that in mind. We'll try to navigate. She's like, how about you? And I go, the thing that I do that I hate, that I like to change, especially in relationships, is I never yell. I make shitty comments. You know what I mean? Like I make a shitty, super cutting, mean comment in a situation
like an
where-
emotionally based comment.
Yeah,
And it's just like,
exactly. And it's not even. It's by the way, it's never deep stuff. It's never like I'm going to bring up a thing.
Yeah.
But it's just like a shitty way to say a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like even if you're in a pool and you're just splashing water in somebody's face.
Yeah.
like just to kind of
I'll give you an example. So like, let's say I never said this, but this is a good one I would say.
But I've thought it about Brad for years.
So my ex-girlfriend, like if she was like, my mom told me that maybe we should do this, I'd be like, oh, your mom who made the support Trump signs and went to the rally in Providence? Yeah, what was her opinion? like, and that's the thing is like, and by the way, not saying that my point isn't valid, but like saying it
I'm not saying I'm wrong.
but like, do you know what I mean?
I
How,
Yeah.
Chuck, you also said earlier that you're like, I'm not the one that typically throws the first punch. Well, you fucking don't have to. yeah. You're always gonna have to throw the second punch when you're saying shit like that.
Like, but that's the kind of thing. It's like, and I'm sure, I just knowing your personality,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that you've made many cutting comments that you're like, that was a little too much.
Oh, I think for me, like if I'm having a fight, right?
Yeah.
Like
A verbal fight.
So, as an example, like with my relationship, we've been together so long that we're also like we don't really fight that much, which is great.
I would imagine because you've been together for like 20 something years.
No.
Right about 20 years, right?
No.
No?
Yeah, no.
Well, you're 41.
Uh-huh.
And I thought you got together when
we
you were
got
like
married
22.
in 2009.
Yeah, but when did you get together?
2006 or 7.
Oh, I thought you got together in college. My bad.
That was college.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
I went to college in 2003.
They were friends
right.
for years first, actually.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
In college.
So you've been together
Yeah.
what, for like 18, 17
it's all
years.
good. Is
Yeah.
she coming in right now?
Yeah, that was just one.
this is your life.
Yeah. So, but no, like it's very, very
Yeah.
rare for us to have a fight. It's almost like we'll joke about it after we do have a fight, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we had our fight for the year,
Yeah.
right? But it is funny where it's like I have those things cataloged that do bother me, often about things that aren't even about the relationship that's there.
Yeah.
And then I'll be mad about one thing, and then I'm like, well, here comes all the stuff I filed away. You know what I mean? And
I
that's
know.
that's when that stuff comes out.
Mine is I just with Kirsten and I. And Kirsten is my girlfriend. How do you do this on the podcast? You say you have to describe.
Yeah.
With her, it's that when she expresses that something is disappointing her, or upset, it may not even be with me in particular,
Right.
Or
but
just
it's-
maybe part of your body.
But it could be. It could be
The
that
idea
little.
of I'm disappointed.
Yeah, little bee.
Yeah,
Right?
like a bee, yeah.
So
Most apine.
So
Yeah, buzz away. Just buzz
yeah,
away.
all right. That's okay.
You're always shoving
So-
it in flowers.
But the thing is that I feel I get to a point where it's like if I can't help make it better, or like if you're in a better mood or happy, I feel like I'm adding more to it.
For sure.
And so because of that, I almost like derail. So I have to like to myself just like calm down. It's okay. But it's just one of those where it just starts to like eat at me, and it's
Yeah.
like
the I can't help fix this thing fucking destroys me.
yeah, absolutely.
It's like someone has a your significant other has a problem with work where you know you can't get involved. They have a problem with like someone treating them poorly while you're 2 hours away and you can't get involved.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah.
just like, what
it's
the
like
fuck?
it's like for me, it's like, oh, you put out a fire, you just dump water on it, but then that's not water; it's literally gasoline. I'm like,
Yeah.
isn't this
Yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
be how
yeah.
you put out this fire?
Yeah,
And
but
it's just like,
I
no, you
get
add
that
more
too
to it.
because I think, in very general men are from Mars, women are from Venus kind of way, right? There are people that are generally like, I want to be a problem solver, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
have people in my life that are like that. My wife is like that. Kalina is very much like oh, there's a problem. Here's here's a suggestion for a solution. But it's not just the relationship there. One of my best friends in the world, Lee Leshin, right? We talk about him quite a bit on this podcast. He is the most like problem solver guy, right? And it is that silly thing. I think the cliche is a lot of times women say that their husband, it just throws out solutions when they just want to vent.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what it
the
is.
men are from Mars, women are from Venus thing. And it is funny because in both situations with Kalina and then my other wife, Lee, there's a moment where I have to say, I don't need solutions.
Yeah.
I don't need solutions
I'll
for
call,
this.
I'll call Chuck and say, hey, I just need to gripe. for
Yeah,
about-
yeah.
This is
Usually
the
when
thing
I'm
that I
leaving
need to
here.
internalize sometimes. I need to internalize that sometimes and not be the person who goes, well, maybe, what if maybe, and you know the person on the other end of that is like, I know the situation better than you.
Yeah, I already thought of
I already
that.
thought of everything.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
just redundant and adding tedious.
Right, and it frustrates me because then it'll be like, well, what about this? And I'm like, I already thought of that, and that it won't work, and now I have to explain
why it won't work
and
to
now
you.
we're into
Yeah.
nitty gritty, and I just
know.
want to get into other stuff.
I know.
It's so interesting. This got to a good, honest place. I
Yeah.
feel like this. Let me say this. Let me step out of this conversation for a moment because we can't hijack Derek's full day. I will say that I think it's really healthy for 4 dudes
Yeah.
to sit in a room, 4 adult men, most of us in our 40s.
It's another gay porn fucking
No,
reference.
it's not. It's not. Most of us in our 40s are close to it.
Yeah.
One of us very far away from the 40s. It's just they're looking back at the 40s like, oh, I remember
I'm
when.
looking back at the 40s.
Yep.
Those were the days.
Those were the
Just
days.
hit with a fire thing that you put out a fire. Nope.
Oh man. There's more than one use for a fire hose.
Wait.
Look at him
You're
go.
like,
Oh
no, you're like 15 or 20 years too early. Yeah. If anything, in this situation, it's like, oh, it was so great. I remember the best Olympics that the world has ever had. Germany. Now there's a guy who knows how to put on a pageant. Adolf, what was it? But no, I think it's super healthy for a bunch of adult men to sit here on microphone
Yes.
and be honest enough about their feelings. You know what I mean?
It's like, here's where I'm bad at conflict resolution.
right, but I think it's good. And
Also,
it's you know what? It's
it
like
is.
it's like a sequel to Funbearable, that episode that
Yeah.
we did. I think there is value there.
For me,
and
I agree with that.
yeah, and
100%.
I think in my friend group, which all of you are a part of, I do think one of the through lines is honesty in that. We're not those kind of guys that shut down how they're feeling. We know those guys,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but I think we're all pretty good at like, if it's a conflict or a serious thing you're going through in your private life or whatever it is, kind of being upfront with your fellow dudes or whatever and being honest about it. I think that's a healthy thing.
Especially if you want to continue working going forward, and you're trying to do,
Yeah.
especially something that's entertaining or has a comedic level to it. It's like you got to know where you stand in those levels, so you can poke at each other, and that becomes a lot of fun. People enjoy listening to that or watching what that is. But if you know where you stand on those things, I feel like there's we want to know where that limit, that line is right there without crossing, because you respect the other person.
Yeah.
But you have to just know where that is. And that comes in conversations, whether it's post a fight and being able to work it out,
Yeah.
or something that you can see coming and you're able to work through that.
Yeah, because
beforehand.
otherwise you're going to constantly relitigate the initial problem, and then everything else becomes any other further problem is just like, oh, let me put that in my bank for evidence of the initial thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just
Yeah,
becomes
yeah.
that. When you miss out on so many things. For instance, if we had let LA ruin our friendship, when we, and LA has ruined many friendships.
It's true.
Yes.
But
I saw The Hangover.
if we,
I'd listen to the song "Fallen Angel" by Poison.
that's
in
true. Yeah,
1980.
I've watched gay porn. LA ruins a relationship for sure. No, anyway, we got to stop bringing it. What is this? It's my fault. Yeah, it is my fault.
It sure is.
Ray, what did you do? No, so if we had let that happen, we would have missed out on so many fun adventures because we would go out and we'd do shows and stuff. We were in Houston, Texas. I don't know why I want to tell this story, but I very much do. We were in Houston, Texas. We were sharing a hotel room.
Yeah.
Because I think we cohabitate well, right?
Oh yeah.
And we were in this hotel room because we were working a club that is now closed. Unfortunately, COVID killed it. Yeah. But we were there sharing the room. We had gone out and done something. We came back, and I did not use the bathroom. You went to the bathroom, right? I can't remember. The toilet was clogged. And I remember it was not my doing. Who else? I don't know. It could be anybody. But that plays into the story because we then had to call the front desk and say the toilet's clogged. We need to fix this.
Yeah.
This is such a out of left field story. I'm sorry. So
No, it's going to add into. I'm going to have a story right now.
So I was upset because I was like, they're only going to think it was me. They're only going to think it was me. If you saw the two of us walk up to you and go, that toilet's clogged in our room that we both use, who do you think they're going to be like, oh, you know what I mean? Oh, I bet it was the little one.
Yeah,
You know, that's not gonna happen.
Well, it's kind of fun, though. That's kind of fun as like a juxtaposition. I would think that. Maybe it's a little one. That'd be great. It's a little one.
Yeah.
Like if me and Brad are the plumbers, Brad would be like, oh my God, this guy. And I'm like, I bet it's a little one.
He just looks more relieved right now. So of course, you know what I mean?
Why am I in green and Chuck's in red? Am I a player two in this scenario?
And then I'm just like, hey, and I'm talking to him. I'm like, you get a lot of fiber. You seem like you get a lot of fiber.
But the funniest part of that moment was one of the maintenance people, they come up to deliver a plunger, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
And they brought that plunger. Yes.
I remember.
Yeah. That plunger, it has never happened in my life. I've never seen one like it before or after. It was a regular, black plunger thing. And you know how you can screw in the handle? This handle was maybe from a broom or something.
It was long?
No, it was shot
longer
put.
than a broom.
Like it was a.
Yes.
It was. It's one of the when you do a long jump.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it was.
Yeah, it was like a javelin.
Does that help? Does that help?
I have no idea.
Dude, it was so
insane. It was taller than me. It was taller than me, and they hand it to us, and we're like, "What do we do with this thing?" I wasn't even sure if it could go high enough up to get into the bowl without
ceiling.
going into the ceiling.
Honestly, it was the longest. It's you know in Braveheart where they had to shape all the trees up front so that way when the horseback came up they would just lift it and had enough room. This was we'd never seen anything like it before in our lives. Not even
it was
still
wild to put it in the toilet and just leave it there for a second and just look at this thing that is like a stripper pole coming out of the toilet.
But they know what the fuck they're doing. So the thing is, I'm sure there was an ongoing joke for the staff that worked there. Like this is always great when we go in there and just to see what their faces look like. If they had those sunglasses with the camera now, the sunglasses. It would be perfect for them at that point just to get the faces on everybody.
I feel like it was like call down to the desk and be like, yeah, the toilet's clogged, and they go, okay. How clogged is it? Like regular or like I got to put my full body weight on this thing?
Frank, we got another one.
What do you think? Is it a 2-footer, 4-footer? And you're like, what?
Like, that sounds like a 7-footer.
The clogged?
But the amount of times that we've gone to to hotels and having to stay over places because of traveling together. There's one little thing that I always just thought that it would just kind of slightly aggravate, but it was always like, to me, it was comedic.
Okay.
But it was one of those things, because Ray, and it always makes Ray happy. And when Ray's in a good space, and we have a nice hotel, especially if we get the upgrade, dude, we're bouncing back off ideas and we're up late. But what really gets him going is getting an upgrade. So if we know we're gonna have a room, it's 2 queen size beds. It's like, all right, it's cool. He's like, Derek, what do you think I'm gonna try to talk to him and see if we can get one of those big rooms. But a suite. But a suite has like a king size bed and then like a separate room, and that separate room just has a pull-out couch. There's not another bed. There's just a bigger bed.
That's a bed.
And so
it's almost like you're
So-
taking the 2 queen sizes and you're saying, well, one person's going to get the queen size plus like another 50% of this queen size.
And then a twin size
then
pull
that
out
only leaves 50% of the
which
bed
those
for the
mattresses
final
we know are
person.
and so of course, but Ray's like, but we get the privacy. We're in a different, you know what I mean? You're in the other, and you
I
can
don't
shut
think I
the door.
sound that way.
And it's like,
But
Derek-
was I saying that after I was hit
no,
with a
it doesn't
hammer?
sound like that. But when it goes into my ear, it does turn into.
I could see him.
It's okay, man.
Right. No, but here's the part that really gets me though. Is that
he's fired up.
He
love
because it's a thing. You would go to bed, and I would, and of course, because I'm the one who's sleeping on.
I was going to say, who gets which?
We fucking know what that is. Okay, we can make the assumption the same way who clogged the toilet. We know who's fucking sleeping in what bed, right?
To be fair, I mean, you're the opener most of the time, so
Oh, so that's what that's how that gets that?
yeah.
Oh man.
Like in Houston.
See, those are the kind of comments I'm trying to eliminate.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, all I'm saying is in Houston, the reason we shared a room was because they gave me a hotel room, but that you would have had to pay for a room. So I was like, come on in, we'll share it.
But that's where Ray's going. We did have equal playing field with the beds with the queen size. He goes, but that just doesn't work because I'm closing and you're going to be opening.
No, I never said that. I never said that.
We need
That's
to.
horseshit. I
Well,
never
it
said
turns
that.
into that. That's how I hear it.
Here we are.
So
You are literally rubbing your hands together going,
Well, I just love Ray earlier. It's like, me and Derek have never had a fight on a podcast.
yeah, well, because
We'll
sometimes
continue.
there are one. This is the thing. Ooh, you hold it in.
no, you don't hold it in because that's how you get to clogging the toilet and blaming it on the fat guy.
Oh yeah, you want to have me sleeping? Yeah, man.
Okay, let's go over a couple of things.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
But
please.
the part to be, and this is what it makes me laugh, like thinking about it afterwards, is we'd get up in the morning and not that it was almost afternoon, and well, I'd been up for a few hours.
Yeah.
And he'd come out of the room. And he comes out and he's like, "Oh man, my back!" And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up about your back." The bed was uncomfortable. Like it's that part is the one that would just get me. It was like, just don't. It's fine, but don't complain about the bed.
I
Don't
like the
complain
idea
about the bed.
of Ray. You're sitting at the hotel lobby. You're just like waiting. Ray talks to the person. He's like talking to the guy. He gets the upgrade. He comes back to you. He goes, man. He goes, you know, you love privacy. You know, that's your main big thing. You love
Yeah.
privacy, and you're like,
Okay.
I guess. And really, yes, I do like privacy. You're like,
comfort and privacy.
I got you your own little room, and you're going to be off to the side. And he's selling it first.
Yeah,
That's
it's
hilarious.
got its own little. There's like a desk in there, an iron, your own little coffee thing. The only weird thing is that I had because some of them will have a bathroom in the regular hall. We've got our own bathrooms, and I have my own in my thing. But I look back at it, it's funny to me now. It was just one of those. Because you love upgrading. The upgrades is like his. He would even talk about planning. So I'm going to say it like this, okay? And what you can do is he would have this whole thing planned
you have
out.
you have hours of travel. Where what are you going to think about? What are you looking forward to? And the
Gummy
idea
bears.
of like maybe I'm going to score like a cool
like
upgrade.
a really.
Because every once in a while we would get like a
like
really
a real
cool
one,
room.
like a two separate rooms.
I will say, I think
which was
that
awesome.
you enjoying the upgrade
Yeah.
is an extension of part of your personality that I share, which is just like, you know, getting free stuff from companies, getting sent stuff, getting extra stuff, getting upgraded on the airport. Like it's just all the same kind of thing.
Sure,
I
yeah.
got an extra thing for free. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
and
I don't
mean,
think it's like greedy or anything. Like
No.
if I don't get the upgrade, I'm like for a hotel room, I'm like, and then I'm done. And then
And
I'm like, oh yeah, it's
listen,
fine.
I
It is a fun little
enjoyed the
game, too.
rooms, and I enjoyed every one of those experiences. It just to me, it was always kind of funny for just getting
I
up
get it,
and then
I
you
get
would
it.
come out. It's like, man, my back, that bed is
Yeah.
really. I'm like,
But it is tricky.
Ray.
It is tricky though. Like I will say, if you ever said like I don't want to do that,
I never
I'd be
say
like, that's fine.
I've never
Yeah,
said that.
yeah.
If anything, I was like, all right, let's see what the fuck we get, because who knows what kind of
That's the
run
thing.
you could
That's
actually
the
end up
thing.
getting.
It's like every once in a while there would be that upgrade where you're like, holy shit, right?
Yeah, of course.
You know?
But every once in a while you get, oh, we did get an upgrade, and then I go in the room and go, oh, I guess it's one of those nights again. I wonder how this.
We did get an upgrade, but we're gonna have to cuddle in a heart-shaped hot tub. Is that okay.
That's
Yeah.
totally fine.
Yeah, that's
That's
fine.
totally
I remember
fine.
when we stayed at the Beakman,
Yes.
which is a 5-star boutique hotel in the financial district in Manhattan.
He had
This is an
he had
extremely...
the science TV show, right?
Yeah, Beakman's World.
No, this is different.
Oh,
this is different. Like
Wow,
this
I don't-
hotel, like Edgar Allan
Edgar Allan
Poe
Poe.
stayed there. Like
Got
it was
rabies.
crazy.
Scientist.
Yeah, another scientist.
That's what Poe is known for.
Yeah.
His contributions to science.
Professor
Yeah.
Poe.
Mental
Poe.
science for depression
Yeah.
and alcoholism.
And dying poor and destitute. Both are the same
I
thing.
remember reading once that he had rabies, and that's just stuck with my brain.
I like
don't know-
that.
I don't know if it's
he
true.
is a cousin fucker, that's for sure.
Well, who among us?
Who wasn't?
Yeah.
Back then?
Yeah, back then.
Yeah, when there was like two. To be fair, way back in the day, you know, there were a lot of cousins.
Yeah.
because everybody was having like 7 kids.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you've got like 30 cousins.
Yes.
and you can't go far away.
Nope.
So you've got your town that you live in, and 30 out of the 70 available people.
Oh, yeah.
end up being cousins.
I know.
What are
Yeah.
you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
What are you gonna
gonna do?
do? Sometimes you have to have sex with a cousin. Back then.
Yes.
Right.
Back
Back
then.
then.
Right.
Not in present day.
No.
I just read a Reddit thread that was pretty crazy. It was all about people that found out they were related to their significant others
Oh, yeah.
in their
Oof.
relationship.
Horrifying.
Pretty
Yes,
horrifying.
when
You
it's
guys ever
already
look-
been established,
Did you look
even
into it
to
ever?
the point where there's people that have been married.
I don't need to.
That's what they thought.
No, I didn't look into
We
it,
both
but
did
I've
like a DNA test thing to
For
track
this
our
reason?
genealogy, not to see if we were related.
Sorry.
I feel like Chuck, you're sitting there. You guys look into this? You look into this? The funny thing is, it's like, yeah, I've read about stuff like that, and you're like, yeah, but you got to look into it because.
But did you read it
I'm really
out of
invested
fear?
in my current relationship, and I got to see what the fuck's going on here.
Ray is like, I remember my 2003 family reunion. Like, I almost won the water balloon toss, but some woman like ran across and I hit her in the head with a water balloon. And Clean is like, that's weird. I was at a family reunion.
Exactly.
I just like the idea of what you're describing is all these people that found that out, and then like it cuts to one couple like reading the information, and you know the wife is like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this," and the husband's like, "What? That's crazy."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like he knew.
Let me see that. Let me see that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it does say that.
Yeah,
there.
you know what? There's a
Wow.
margin of error down here. Probably.
Yeah, it's probably that. We should probably have said, who's horny right now? No, but like the Beakman, like that was a suite. But in that scenario, it's like, no, we get that. I would have slept on the couch. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, dude.
It was just such a beautiful room.
Just even the hotel itself, like even not
Yeah.
even just the room, just the way
Wild.
everything. It was awesome. It
Wild,
was awesome.
yeah. And that ended up in Undependent. That's the hotel room
wow.
that Lee's character
Yeah.
is
Oh, yeah,
staying
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's one to this day. That is my that's the highest bar for a hotel.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I remember when we arrived, when we got there, because we originally stayed there when we were screening Be a Man, and we went back because we had that connection.
Yes.
And I remember when we showed up, we had driven down and we had all of our props and shit for Undependent. We had to bring all the gear in. They were going to come in with all the camera stuff the next day,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I remember us showing up in like gym shorts and t-shirts to a 5-star boutique hotel,
Yeah.
and we have to wait for the room to be ready or
Wow,
whatever.
you guys and Adam Sandler.
Yeah, and we just
yeah,
walk in,
right,
and immediately
right.
it's like, we did the wrong thing. We were supposed to wear tuxes to come in here. Yeah, it was so funny.
Because we were just waiting for somebody from the staff to come over. Like, are you guys lost?
Yeah.
Are you
right.
supposed to be here?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't use our bathroom unless you're staying here.
Yeah. No, we have a reservation.
Yeah.
What's it under? Lee Leshin.
Sounds
Yeah.
made
He's
up.
not here. He's not here.
Yeah,
yet.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
not here. But no, Derek, we're running long on this this episode here. I feel so grateful that you came in because this has been a long time coming, and I also feel bad because we're already pals, right? So our conversation, we didn't do a intro to Derek Furtado. Who is Derek? How did he start comedy? All that stuff.
I think we give him a bunch of stuff though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's more fun when we just do conversation.
Yeah, I don't.
I think it's more
Because
fun.
to be honest with you, I don't want to know how you started. I know how you started. I don't need to hear it again.
Yeah, we don't need to.
Yeah.
We don't need to go. This is why I enjoy your guys' podcast and why Ray and I we enjoy doing ours is that we didn't really get mixed up in doing
Yeah.
that. I mean, we could always come back and
Yeah.
do those
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
but the idea that we can't even get to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is fun.
That's
I
the
know
best
it's a
part.
thing that kind of bothers Brett a little bit because he's like,
Once we start, I'm fine.
yeah, you just got to get that.
long to start.
Full fist fight.
No, Derek, what you got to understand is he's like this with everything. He's terrible at foreplay. Yes. Terrible at foreplay.
It's
taking forever to start.
It just takes up time.
What if I just, thanks a lot, have a good one.
The money's on the dresser.
Next to the stapler.
No,
These are Canadian coins.
she goes, no, it's not. And then she, well, I guess she has your voice. And then she turns back and the
And you're
window's
gone.
open.
Yeah. That's great. So I do want to say a couple of things here. I hope you come back.
Yes.
You got to
Yeah.
come back. You're more than welcome on the podcast. There's always an open door for you. For sure, we'd love to have you because you and I have had quite literally hundreds and hundreds of like just really funny conversations on mic, more off mic.
Yeah.
I think it might be nice if we throw out like a bonus episode when this comes out of maybe one of the old with Ray and Derek's or the episode of Must Content that you were on.
Yes,
that
yes.
turned into an insane thing.
Yeah,
about
any of those
young
because
children.
we were able to go off on so many different tangents and just go into these worlds that like didn't exist, but we created that, and we just couldn't help ourselves to not go in that. But the thing is there were times what we learned over a period of time is not to give up on it. And there were moments where we were able to find, it took us a little while, but the more we worked on that, we got there so much quicker.
Yeah,
so
for
as
sure.
soon as we turned on the podcast, we were able to just flow right into it.
The kind of loose goal of with Ray and Derek when we were doing that was have a regular conversation that gets to a point where it becomes an audio sketch. Like old Adam Sandler audio sketches and stuff like that. Like it was a goal to get there, and then we would improvise through that. There's a name for that in improv where somebody does the monologue and then they do long form after it. What is that called?
There's
is it a herald?
An Armando is the monologue first and then the scenes.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's sort of
Armando
like
Diaz.
that.
Yeah.
It was an Armando.
Yeah.
And that sounds weird.
I know.
But yeah, it was kind of like that. It was a lot of fun to do. And then after that trial, we stopped doing the podcast. It was rough.
Yeah.
But we'd love to have you back, sincerely.
No,
Hell yeah,
absolutely.
buddy.
I would love to come back.
And then, if anybody wants to check out Undependent, they can do that.
Right.
See Derek's work in that. Your work as a eternally optimistic idiot in Undependent, the character that you're playing, is so fun. Like
Yes.
that's like my highest compliment I could give for your performance in that is like it is perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just kept thinking the idea that why would any grown man after no ideas, and that was the whole thing with Undependent, we just did something and thought that we could just ride that out. And what a dumb thing to do, especially the ideas that we're moving to one of the most expensive cities. To just go, we're filmmakers now, right?
Yeah.
In this place where there are so many filmmakers and we're going to just wing it. But the only way that you could sustain that is you have to have somebody that cheerleads the whole thing, even though we have nothing.
Yeah,
And
right.
so you have to almost be somewhat ignorant to the reality of the hardships of being able to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like for me, it was just like, man, we're going to do this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
We're doing the thing, even if we don't have substance to it.
Yeah.
That was the part where
I got to be honest, when we worked on that, like the writing of that, it felt really personal. Like there was it was like therapy because this thing that came out in there was the yin and yang of anyone trying to make something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Any creative endeavor. And it was Ray and Derek were like the two voices in your head. Right. As
Yes.
comics, that's what it ended up being for me.
Right.
Like it was, okay, Ray is nothing will ever be good enough. It has to be perfect, but we'll never get to perfect because who are we?
Yeah.
And Derek's voice was the one that's like, no, it's going to be perfect because we're making it.
Oh, I don't
And
have
we're
a
so
I don't have a
excited.
Derek voice in my head.
But there's got to be a little voice of like the thing that drove you to like get up on that stage and start doing this thing. It's like, this is fun and we're doing this.
At
You
the
know what I
very
mean?
least, there's a I can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
Otherwise,
think you
wouldn't
guys
do
have
improv.
that in moments
Yeah.
when you guys have worked together on different projects.
For sure.
And I think when you both come to a point where you're like, this is not going to work, is where you go back to the drawing table. But thank God,
Yeah.
like somebody does speak
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
and say that. But there
Yeah.
are times where you need the other person to push them out of this. Like, well, it has to be. And it's like, well, that's maybe sometimes that's the beauty of it because it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, it's if it's not exactly perfect, it's a failure.
Right.
And then isn't it so cool that we're doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the two things.
Yeah.
But I do believe you have to have both
Yeah, you do.
if you're gonna like make a good thing.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Which is so weird. I don't know. But yeah, it's so funny. We talked so much about Undependent. There was no, like, we weren't like, let's push Undependent. We actually talked about doing more conversation about Be a Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Derek, so happy to have you on. Do you
Hell
have
yeah.
any like, anything you want to promote? Any socials? Any things?
No, I mean, there's
feels so
what
weird to talk to you this way.
even because when you have the other podcast, you interview somebody and then you say, "Oh, is there anything you want to
Yeah,
promote?"
yeah.
Anything?
Yeah.
I say the same thing on any other podcast that I've done is use this thing. It's called Google. Put my name in there. They list a whole like. There's other things you can click on. Like
Wow.
there's it's
Wow.
crazy. There's like Instagram you can get on there. You can the Facebook, TikToks, like all of those things or any articles, any thing.
Right.
You can.
And then
so-
there's always that caveat that you
Cornhub.
give. Google it, but that third link, that's not me. That's a different Derek.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh
you can-
yeah,
that's
And-
right.
yeah. Arrests. That's not me.
Well, I was going to
Yeah.
say, so
So-
there's a new thing Derek told me. He's like, if you put a negative sign and then put child after that, so it takes out anything that has
Yeah.
that word, make sure you put that Derek,
Yeah.
Furtado, comedian, minus child.
Specifically,
And also
please
minus-
do that.
And
yes.
please don't Google it without that.
Yeah, minus true crime.
Right.
Minus mystery solved.
Right.
Minus
Obscene.
I mean,
Yeah.
safe search should be on.
Yeah, I would say
Oh, yeah,
so.
yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Mine
a-
is missing.
Yeah.
if
minus
you put
found.
any, if you
minus corpse.
Oh, minus sad face.
if you put on any kind of parental like controls on their filters,
Yeah.
nothing comes up.
Minus monster.
So
Right? Minus heinous. Minus scarred.
Oh yeah, and you know what? Big one,
Just-
just minus crawl space.
Yeah.
most definitely,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Derek, thank you so much for being here, folks.
Minus the foot is still missing.
Feel free to send us an email, funbearablepod@gmail.com.
Brad again. Minus
Keep going.
minor.
For Ray Harrington and Chuck Staten and special guest Derek Furtado, my name is Brad Rohr saying thank you so much, and we're sorry for being Funbearable.
Now that the mics are off and the listeners are gone,
Yeah.
the credits are rolling.
Yeah.
We don't even have the audio. The credits are rolling. We don't even have the audio
It's
going.
just Craig.
Now you can finally admit you clogged that toilet, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We got it, boys.
Got him! Bring him in!
They run in with the plunger.
The good news is you'd have time to get away because you would see it coming in. There's a good another 4 or 5 minutes before they get in here.
I had such a bubble gut from tossing and turning in that pull-out couch that it was just I had to get it out.